back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
Fred Blassie, right? We can do my lunch with Blassie. You ever see the Andy Kaufman?
Oh, yes.
Blassie, Freddie Blassie,
yeah. I know who he is. I just didn't know how he got into the top 10 designated hitters.
Yeah, but he played a good. Freddie Blassie played a good first base back in the day.
I'm just talking about
top wrestling managers of all time.
Let's get Captain Lou at that point. I mean, right now.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, December the 15th, 2021. Jersey Johnny coming at you with me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete, Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
hello.
How is
friends?
you this evening?
Well, you know, just peachy.
Just peachy.
Just peachy.
I'll say,
What will you say?
yeah, I'm apricot-y.
Apricot-y. That's
Interesting. I'm nectarini.
I would never associate the word apricot with you.
Well, you know, you haven't known me. You didn't know me back in the day.
I also have not been on your OnlyFans page in a while. So.
Yeah,
This is true. You don't.
I'm a lot less apricot-y now than I used to be.
You used to be a lot more apricot-y. Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly. So anyway, how is Long Island and Denver respectively this evening?
Well, I don't know about Long Island, although I'm working with a guy from Long Island right now.
Right. Now.
Denver is very, very windy today. I spent my day chasing things down the street and trying to reapply parts of buildings that have blown off. But other than that,
was it like paper or thin stuff, or were it like actual beams and like roofs that were?
No, nothing major. Just trying to keep tarps on things and chasing. My foundation guy left his tarps on a garage slab, so those blew down the alley. And
I thought you were chasing your foundation guy. He was
garbage can. Well, I'm always chasing them. I'm always chasing everybody. That's how I spend my days. But, garbage can, luge, and slaloms and things like that. Yeah.
Sure. Gotcha. Fun stuff.
Yeah. Long Island is hell as usual.
Long Island is hell. Isn't that one of the travel slogans?
I think it was a Ramones album.
Long Island is hell.
Be.
Oh, that's true.
Be,
yeah,
yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Whatever. It's just I'm dreading like January and February because
really
weather has been cold at times, but it's been relatively mild. I mean, it's an island.
You
so
think it's coming, right? You think it's
it's like we haven't gotten any real snow yet, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, we said that for the last 2 years, all winter.
Well, I've been right. It has been worse after the first of the year, but the thing is, it just doesn't stay cold enough for it to really stick around. Right. So
true.
That's. I mean, it still stinks when they dumps 18 inches of snow on you, but it's gone like 2 weeks later.
I hear you.
All right, if it's like 3 or 4 inches, it's gone the next day or the day after that. So,
which is odd for the Northeast because usually the snow stays there until April. Just big gray black mounds of snow.
Right,
sitting
big gray black mounds. No.
It'll be
big gray mounds of snow,
warm enough to melt the next couple of days after it snows. Usually,
not often.
So, but
it's right. Well, that's our weather update
for the Northeast, and technically the Midwest as well. So
the West,
West,
we cover two parts.
You're west of Midwest.
We have enough.
You're not far west. Is there a far west? Or
we're pretty far. We're 2 states away from the coast, but it's there's enough Midwesterners moving here that we're turning into
the Midwest,
Chicago West.
Chicago West. Gotcha.
Well, the Chicago suburbs west.
Gotcha. It's a pretty far drive into the suburbs to commute every day back into,
Well, I wish they would commute and go fuck back home, but they're not.
You could lock them out when they leave. Anyway. All right. But we love everybody. We love Chicago.
We love everybody, even the rich frat guys who are moving to Denver.
There you go.
Mommy
Well
and daddy's
said. Well
money.
put. There you go. Gotcha. Anyway, so sports-wise, it's only one. You know what? I'm not even going to put the baseball background on because there's only one thing that I want to bring up. They're down to 3. The Mets are down to 3. They're down to Buck Showalter, Joe Espada, and Matt Quattraro. And I have one question on that.
Okay.
Why haven't they just signed Buck Showalter already?
Come on.
Is this more due diligence?
Look,
is this
if
what
you can't explain the Mets, I certainly can't.
True.
So I don't
Cohen
know.
is involved in these talks. Apparently, he was not in the original ones.
Well, that's maybe why they haven't signed anybody. I mean, look, if you're Sandy Alderson, I don't know what his order of who he wants first, second, third. Well, I think Showalter's third on his list.
Showalter's third. He wants a puppet first, either Espada or Quattraro second, and then Showalter third.
What kind of puppet would it be?
Grover, Kermit, any of them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Snuffleupagus would probably
Maybe
be best.
Sam the Eagle, perhaps.
He's
good with the press.
Isn't that the bench coach for the Phillies?
Snuffleupagus is the bench coach for the Phillies. They can get him away, though. They have permission.
So that might be why this is going on. Cohen, maybe Cohen wants Showalter, and I wouldn't think that Sandy Alderson would.
I don't think he does.
And so they're at
much
odds.
less control. So
yeah.
But isn't it Steve Cohen's team though, or is it Sandy Alderson's? Am I missing something? Just curious. I was spitballing. I don't know.
I mean, compared to what they had, I think maybe I'm speaking.
Compared to what they had, any of them will be fine.
That's what I was going to say.
Right. But I mean, why would you? I mean, you have Buck Showalter. You have the ability to sign him. He wants to come and manage. He has the best resume. He gives you your best chance to win now, which is what you not only want to do, what you need to do. If you want to utilize the players that you just signed, especially Scherzer, right? And of course DeGrom. Who knows what's going on with DeGrom? I mean, he's 4 years younger than Scherzer, but his arm seems to be 4 years older than Scherzer. So not his arm pitching wise, just injury prone wise. That's what I meant.
No, they're professional athletes now. They only play a quarter of the time.
This is true. I forgot about that part. But in any event, just sign Buck Showalter already. I mean, because the entire fan base is going to, throw daggers through the computer screens at Sandy Alderson if they do not sign Buck Showalter. And not that Sandy Alderson really gives a shit about that, but you know what I'm saying.
Is Buck Showalter the Andy Reid of baseball before Andy Reid won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs?
I believe he is.
It's like,
and I believe the Mets are his Kansas City Chiefs.
He had far less talent than he accumulated due to a lot, I guess, to the ownership, but also with his say, probably the most talented team in the NFL, and was able to lead them to a Super Bowl. Yep. Maybe more than one. We'll see. But I sort of
two so far. He only won one of them.
Yeah, 2 Super Bowls.
Right.
So far.
And Andy Reid's been to 3 Super Bowls overall. He's only
right.
One
Buck
of them.
Showalter has not, to my knowledge, been to the World Series.
He's been to the playoffs a lot, but he
hasn't been a lot compared to how many years he's coached.
Compared to the other guys.
Right.
But and in 94 was his best chance of going to the World Series. I mean, I think they would have. I think they would have. The Yankees would have roller skated through the World Series that year.
Yeah, but that was a long time
Donnie
ago.
Baseball would have had his ring and the whole nine. But
that was a long time ago. Silver Chair was the #1 album.
It's 27 years ago. Yes.
Yeah.
Silver Chair, and it was 2 years after that song we were talking about before. But that's besides the point.
That's
too.
right. I don't know what
first
song
album. I like that first album.
Yeah, it was kind of all the B-sides that Nirvana and Pearl Jam decided not to release.
And those kids were like 16 or 17, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Hanson that turned into Silverchair? Were they related?
Wait, wasn't it Silverchair that turned into Hanson? Is what you're saying?
Well,
I can't remember.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, look, here's all I'll say about this.
Really?
Yeah. Look, Quattraro, 20-something years with the Rays, right?
Right.
But no experience as a manager.
None. And what have the Rays done other than last year or 2 years ago?
Well, he was the bench coach and all that. But anyway, 22 years with the Rays, and
Mets have done more.
I don't think he's gotten a sniff as a manager for that job.
Right.
Yeah, he was my hedging of that statement of saying, I'm not sure he's necessarily better than what they had.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other fact of the matter is, I have a feeling that unless they're just doing their due diligence and and keeping it fair, keeping all things even, kind of thing, not just throwing it all in Buck Showalter's court kind of thing. The only real competition I think that Buck Showalter has is Joe Espada. I don't think Matt Quatraro stands a chance.
Yeah.
But in Mets speak, to be quite honest with you, that pretty much means that Matt Quatraro is getting the job.
Yeah, probably. But here's the thing about Espada. And, listen, Cohen is obviously listening to Sandy Alderson about a lot of this stuff.
I just hope he listens to us.
Assumedly he will not, but
well,
doesn't profess to know.
Tweet at him later.
He's a fan and not, a baseball manager or whatever.
Sure.
But if he wants to listen to people who have been in the game and know things, he should look at Espada's history. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad guy or anything because I don't know.
Well, the Astros.
But,
line, yeah.
Well, look, he interviewed for the Angels job. Didn't get it. Brad Ausmus got hired.
Mm-hmm.
Interviewed for the Rangers job. That went to Chris Woodward.
Mm-hmm.
Interviewed for the Giants job. They hired Gabe Kapler.
Mm-hmm.
And interviewed for the Cubs job. That went to David Ross.
Didn't he interview for the Tigers job too?
That I don't know.
And went to AJ Hinch.
So he is the Eric Bieniemy.
He's the Eric Bieniemy of right. So
yeah.
I mean,
well,
a lot of cross connections here. Between
my point
the
is now
and
again,
Mets,
none of that means that he's terrible.
Right. It
but
just means that those guys were better.
Well, there's four
in the eyes of the.
There's four different teams who passed on him for someone else,
right.
And that should be taken into account.
It's got to be taken into account.
There's
got to be a reason for that.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't. It's. I wouldn't even say it's a red flag.
And I'm pretty
much as it just might mean he's just not that good or not ready in their eyes.
Ready.
Not
he's
that
not.
He's
yeah.
bad or has done anything wrong or
right.
would be. A cancerous tumor on the organization. He's just not, in their eyes, ready for the job or not as ready as these guys. And as far as I know, that was all of their first managerial jobs, right?
Pretty much. But here's the thing. Buck Showalter, pretty certain that any head coaching job, any manager, job he's ever interviewed for, he got.
Well, we don't know. He started his career in 1913.
Well,
yeah,
he's not as old as you think he is. He really isn't.
I don't know. He was coaching the Yankees in the early 90s?
Early 90s, yeah, early 90s. I think 89 to...
Well, actually, didn't he fill in between a couple of Billy Martin stints?
He was pretty young back then.
He did not. He was very young back then. He's only in his 60s.
He looks exactly the same. So, he always looked like this.
He's mid-60s, he is. Yeah. So he's not really that old. So it's not like he's in his 80s.
Who cares even if he was?
And even if he was, yeah, seriously.
But he's got 20 years on Espada.
Right, of course. It needs to be Buck. End of story.
Oh, it was Quatraro who supposedly spoke with the Tigers.
Oh, Quatraro.
He also lost out on the Giants job to Kapler,
mm-hmm.
and apparently interviewed or was a finalist, according to this story, for the Pirates job that went to Derek Schultz. So the Pirates didn't want to hire this guy.
Pirates didn't want to hire this guy.
The Tigers didn't want to hire him, and the Giants, I guess, they like Gabe Kapler.
Mm-hmm.
So he has less less not hires than Espada, so he'll probably get the job.
Right, exactly.
How many times do you think Buck Showalter?
Whoever kisses Sandy Alderson's ass the most in these interviews is going to get hired.
How many times has Buck Showalter won?
100 games.
100 games. Ooh, what's the over under?
No.
Yeah. I will say
9.
2.
1.
Yeah,
back at 99 with the
Diamondbacks.
Yeah, with the Diamondbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And
how many times did he win? Like
100.
How many times did he win? Like 95.
Second highest was 93.
93. Okay.
And 96. I'm sorry, but he's only been in the 90s twice. He won 89 games once, and twice actually, and 100 once.
How many times did he win his division?
1, 2, 3 times.
Yeah, between the Yankees, Diamondbacks, Orioles, and Rangers.
Well, he did it 3 times. So it was once with the Yankees, once with the Diamondbacks, and once with the Orioles.
Okay.
He never got higher than 3rd with the Rangers.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, hey, but look at the team he has
Matt
around.
Quatraro, welcome to the Mets.
And he's been to the playoffs 5 times. So
that seals it.
There
He's
you go.
been to the playoffs 5 times.
There you go. So have the Mets.
True.
Yeah.
Mets have won 2 World Series, though, if I remember correctly. And have been to, what, 4 World Series? No,
5.
5.
5.
Oh, the Mets have lost 3 World Series?
They lost in 73. They lost in
73.
2000.
I always forget about that one.
In 73, 2000, 2015 they lost. Yeah.
I remember the 2015. Yeah, I mean, Mets have been...
You
Mets have
remember
been
the
to
2000 World Series?
No, I remember that one. I said I don't remember the 73. I always forget about that.
Okay.
Yeah, the Mets have been to the World Series I mean, as a Yankee fan, the Mets have been to the World Series really recently.
Yeah. Mets have been to the World Series more recently than the Yankees, but
Yankees haven't even sniffed it.
and the and NJ.com actually posted the other day, they're like Buck Showalter, a Buck Showalter led Mets team could steal New York from the Yankees. That was the headline.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah,
Wow.
and I became a Nets fan only
did?
because of Kyrie.
There you go. Anyway, all right, Pete. What was the thing you wanted to talk about?
So
While I open my beer, I'm gonna have my beer for the night. It's a brown ale if you wanna know.
Real quick, yes or no? This is the
We got a yes or no.
2022 Hall of Fame ballot first-year candidates.
Okay.
There's a bunch of them. I'm not going to read them all.
You have a lot of free time on your hands, don't you?
Yeah.
So
I do weather reports for a living.
he reads the weather.
That's fantastic.
And I do reports for like I don't know, probably 6 or 7 or 8 stations in Ohio. So it's basically the same report, it's just different call letters. And anyway,
cloudy with a chance of boring as hell.
Yeah. So yes or no? I'll go over. I won't go over all of them, but Prince Fielder, yes or no?
Yes.
All right. So these are first-year candidates. Are they going to get in?
First time. No, I'm going to say no with Prince Fielder. It's just
get in. Oh, I thought you meant get in at all.
Yeah.
No. This is next year's first-year candidate.
Get in.
First chance.
Right.
First ballot.
You're asking if they get in next year. Okay.
They get in next year. Yeah.
No, not on Prince. No.
Yeah, no.
Fielder, no. Okay. Ryan Howard.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay. Justin Moore, no.
No. Well, yes. I'm going to say yes with him. I think the only thing that's going to hurt him is I think for baseball writers, they will
so
vote him in.
He's so handsome.
That too. But
right.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll say Fielder, no.
Remember.
Howard, no. Moore, no, yes. Joe Nathan.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Big Papi.
Yes.
Lincecum.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just he was great for a short period of time, but did not do it for a long period of time.
Yeah, but he won 3 World Series.
Did he win
in
3?
5 years? Yes.
How many did Kurt Schilling win?
2.
I'm going to say no on Lincecum.
Well, Kurt Schilling's not in for another reason.
Well, that's the problem. But
Lincecum is apparently much less of an asshole than Kurt Schilling is.
I wonder if he still has his long, luxurious locks.
Papelbon.
No.
Not in the first ballot, no.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Jake Peavy.
Peavy's numbers are better than you think.
Yeah, they are.
They're good, but he's not getting on the first ballot.
Yeah, I agree with John.
All right. A-Rod.
No.
He should.
He should. He absolutely should.
Numbers-wise,
he should roller skate in. He's not getting in on the first
This will be the most interesting one out of all of them, but unfortunately, I don't think he will, but he should.
I agree.
I totally agree. He absolutely should. He should
But
be. He should be on that list with Big Papi. The two of them should be going in together. He's not going in on the first ballot.
But we might. What we might start to see is him get a lot closer than people in the past have.
Oh, he will. And
Yeah.
I think A-Rod will get in the Hall. I think he won't get into like maybe the 3rd year, maybe his 4th year.
I think the steroid shadow is starting to subside a little bit.
A little bit, and it was. I mean, he didn't actually. It's not like he he did different things. I mean, it was illegal. Obviously, I'm not condoning what he did, but and
the other thing is,
different twist to it.
He did come clean.
Right. He admitted, took his took his lumps, took his penalty, and
I did it. I hit 45 plus home runs a year.
He didn't fight it. He just
So I mean, that doesn't excuse the fact that he did it, but it might kind of soften something.
And as a Met fan, and I know there's a lot of Met fans that disagree with me, and you may as well, Pete, but I still think that the Yankees should have had him in a little bit more, just so he could have hit that 700th home run. He wasn't breaking. He wasn't even breaking Babe Ruth's record, let alone Barry Bonds' record. But just
it would have been a nice moment.
Just get the 700th. One dinger, one more.
I will say this: he's probably the most frustrating Hall of Famer I've ever watched.
Well, probably, yeah.
Because much like Giancarlo Stanton, although A-Rod's a much better player, with the Yankees, A-Rod had some great years and some really miserable postseasons. And then he had an okay year and a pretty darn good postseason. So he made up for a lot of that. It just seems like he had to date Goldie Hawn's daughter. That was the only one who brought a World Series to So if he can,
which is surprising.
I think he would have been exhausted. I think Kurt Russell pulled him aside, at family dinners and said, "Okay, you got to do this, you got to do that." So he kind of background coaching. That's what.
Look, he was brought there. He was brought there to do what?
Win a championship.
To win a championship.
Right.
So mission accomplished.
There you go.
Well, he won one. Which
right. Well, right. He was brought there to win more than one. But
let's face it, there was a miracle comeback by the Red Sox for him.
Almost two,
not to have won a second.
They would have won. They would have beaten St. Louis.
They would have won very easily.
Yeah.
But A-Rod was a big part of I think he was a big factor in motivating the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
True.
I can see that. All right,
anyway.
Two more real quick.
Sure.
Jimmy Rollins.
Not in the first year. He'll get in second year. Here's where I'm going with this.
He's maybe one of the best second basemen of all time.
I agree 100%, and he should go in too. But how many times have you seen 6 guys go in one ballot? I don't care whether they're first balloters or not, because there's other people that are on the ballot, are going to be on the ballot too, that aren't first ballot.
All right, so Poppy's going in.
Poppy's going in, and I think I honestly think Ryan Howard's going in on the first ballot too. You could be right.
I think Jimmy Rollins was a bigger part of that team and a better player. I'll ask you this: who do you think deserves to go in? Who do you think, not deserves? Who do you think will go in? Morneau or Rollins?
Of those two, I think Rollins would go in before Morneau.
Right. I think Morneau's
numbers
are maybe the best offensive numbers by.
I think it's highly likely that you're going to see 2 people as usual.
I think you're going to see 3.
And the only one from the first ballot guys is going to be Big Poppy. That's it. I honestly think that's what's going to happen.
So, all right, last name, Teixeira.
None of the first ballot, no.
He's a bubble guy. I'm not sure Teixeira makes it in.
He might not even get in, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I think every one of the I think most, probably, how many names were on the list?
Well, let's see. Well, I did pretty much read all of them anyway. I left off Carl Crawford and AJ Przinsky.
All right.
So 2,
between
4,
Ryan...
6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 13 names.
And I do just want to say something about Lincecum. Lincecum won 110 games in his career, had 89 losses, 3.74 ERA. I get it. He was a four-time All-Star, won 3 World Series. I get it. He also won 2 Cy Young Awards. Yeah. Like I said, he was great for 4 years.
5.
Yeah.
But I think the last year he was
a reliever, pen, right? He was a reliever.
Yeah.
He was a reliever last year. Yeah. But here's the thing, though. And it's all about, like you even say, Harry, all the time. What do you do in the postseason? What do you do in the postseason? What do you do in the postseason?
I get you. And so that puts him ahead of a lot of these guys on the list.
And I think he's ahead of Morneau. I think he's ahead of Rollins.
Well, Morneau never won a championship, and neither did Rollins, right? Was Rollins? No,
Jimmy Rollins was on. He wasn't on when they won?
What year did they win?
08.
Yes. He was.
Yeah, he was
You're
on,
right.
yeah.
Okay. He was also an MVP, Jimmy Rollins.
Yeah. So I think in order of the ones any of us said would get in the first ballot, I think it's Big Poppy number 1.
260 career batting average.
Lincecum 2, Rollins 3, Howard 4, Morneau 5. I think that's my order. But I honestly think the only one of this list that's getting in on next year's ballot is Big Poppy. That's it. He's definitely going in, and he's definitely going in first ballot. End of story. There's no even discussion there. I don't think any of these. I think A-Rod will get. I think A-Rod will get in. I think Ryan Howard will get in. I think Morneau will get in. I think Lincecum will get in. I think Rollins will get in. I think it's going to take years for them to get in. Just not the first year, yeah. Only because they've only been putting 2 in, maybe 3. And there's other guys. It's not just this list. There's a whole list of other guys that were first ballots last year and the year before and the year before that you got to go through with those too.
Yeah.
And any of those guys that were on the bubble those years, they're getting in this year. So they're not going to put in 2 or 3 first ballot guys and leave off guys that should get in that on the third ballot or fourth or even their last ballot, So
yeah. Morneau too, what I'm remembering with him, and I don't know what his career batting average is, but he did tail off after he left the Twins. He stuck around for another 4 years, 4 or 5 years. Yeah. And they're all very similar. I still think Morneau's numbers for the position that he played and his ability as a catcher, right. I'd still put him second on that list ahead of Jimmy Rollins. I mean, all things considered, A-Rod would be first on the list. Big Papi would be second, but I'm counting A-Rod out.
Yeah, if A-Rod didn't have the issues he had, A-Rod would be above Big Papi. He would be number one, and
A-Rod, you would have to argue A-Rod was maybe one of the top 5 baseball players of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, his numbers
and
are,
that's why he's going to get
astounding.
in. That's why he's going to get in. He's not going to be left out. He's going to get in, but it's not going to be on the first ballot. It's not. I don't think it's going to be next year either. But he'll get third or fourth year. He'll get in. But you'll see his numbers high. It's not like he's going to get like 10% of the vote. He'll have votes, but
he'll get a higher percentage than Pete Rose did.
This is true. So anyway, all right.
All right, there we go.
There we go.
That was livelier than I thought it might be.
There you go. That's an interesting little discussion. Thank you very much for bringing that up.
All
right.
You're welcome.
Good job. All right. Let's do
Wanted to get us past the 26-minute mark.
26-minute mark so we can get into football in,
that was my over-under.
In the late 20s. There you go. So you won.
That's going to be the over-under for next week.
You made yourself win. There you go.
How long will we talk about baseball?
There you go.
All
right. Football. We're starting off with the quiz, as we do. We've been going. We did pre-1980 or 60s to 80s quarterbacks 2 weeks ago. We did 80 to 2000 last week. We're doing 2000 to 2020 quarterbacks.
1940 to 1947 safeties.
I think I remember the 90s quarterbacks better than the most current
I'm
ones.
sure you did, but I think you'll know these names.
All right.
All right. So here we go. We're starting with you're both getting the same list. So we'll start with Pete as usual, but you can write them down, jot them down, figure it out. What?
Keep 4, get rid of 2.
Keep 4, get rid of 2. There you go. Ready? All right, here we go. We're going to start with a guy. You might not know this name, Thomas Brady.
Oh, yeah. He lived around the block from me.
He was around the corner, yeah. Tom Brady.
Sounds like a loser.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a name you give the cops when you get.
Sounds like somebody so good Pete will drop him just out of spite.
There you go.
What did he ever do for the Jets?
Yeah, really.
He's gone.
All right.
He's no Mark Aston.
Not at all. He's not even a Richard Todd. All right, here we go. Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger. I'll give you extra time to write Roethlisberger.
No, just for Big Ben.
There you go. Eli Manning.
Oh, God.
There's Pat's first.
God.
And Pete's, yeah. Peyton Manning. Drew Brees.
This was easy until you said that.
And Aaron Rodgers. I know who mine are. I'll say it after you guys go.
We're getting rid of 2, right?
You're getting rid of 2. So, I know. Pete, you're getting rid of Tom Brady, right?
No, I have to keep Brady.
I'm going to get rid of 2 who won a lot of Super Bowls.
All right. It might be the same 2 that I'm getting rid of.
I think I'd get rid of both the Mannings.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
You'd rather have Ben Roethlisberger than Peyton Manning in a must-win situation in their prime.
He's debating. He's debating that question.
I do hate the Steelers too. Hasn't he won like 3 Super Bowls though?
Two.
He's been to 3.
Oh, he's only won. He's
won
only
2.
won 2. All right.
There's only 2 guys on this list that have not won 2.
Ben Roethlisberger won 2. Eli Manning won 2. Peyton Manning won 2.
Well, there's 3 guys on this list who haven't won 2. One of them is because he's won way more than 2.
One won 7, and the other 2 only won 1.
Right.
So,
well, Breeze.
but you got
Breeze won 1.
You
Long
got
time
15
ago.
Super Bowls between these 6 guys.
Who was the last guy?
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh.
So if you just go by Super Bowl wins, you're getting rid of Breeze and Rodgers, but I don't think that's the case here. So who are you getting rid of, Pete? Clearly, you're getting rid of Eli.
This is to start my team or a must-win game, as Harry says. Like, what's the context?
Who do you think are the best quarter? Who do you think
Who are the best 4 quarterbacks?
Oh, all right.
Who do you not have a personal vendetta against? Because
that's really what it comes down
of
to.
Jets' inability to beat any of these guys.
So he's leaving off Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady is who he's leaving off.
I'm going to leave off.
The last desk for savings?
I'm going to leave off Peyton.
All right.
I'll leave off Breeze.
Leave off Peyton and Breeze.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So you're taking Tom. You're keeping Tom. You're keeping Ben. You're keeping Eli, and you're keeping Aaron.
Yeah.
Brady, Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, and Aaron Rodgers. All right.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna, get rid of Ben because I'm a Cowboys fan and hate the Steelers, or I'm not gonna put that kind of emotion into this
Gotcha.
quiz for once.
No worries. All good. Harry, who are you leaving? Who are you getting rid of?
I'll start by saying I don't want to get rid of any of them, but from a sheer talent standpoint, the 2 least talented, and that's like saying, still incredibly talented. Maybe all of these guys are probably top 20 quarterbacks of all time.
The least talented of this bunch.
I would say it's got to be Eli and Ben Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I am somebody who in the past has not held Peyton Manning to as high a level as a lot of other people have. But in his prime, Peyton Manning was exceptional.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. There's one thing that – go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
And Rodgers and Brady are the 2 best quarterbacks probably on this list.
I agree with that.
Breeze doesn't always make my list because I think he's good. I also think that had Breeze won 2 or 3 Super Bowls, it would be a no-brainer. I'm still going to keep him on the list. I think Ben and Eli were really good quarterbacks for teams that had great defenses. And Eli, I think, actually winning 2 Super Bowls is a greater accomplishment than Roethlisberger, because I think Roethlisberger had a lot more offensive weaponry over his career than Eli. All of them great, but I'm going to drop – hate to say it, I'm going to drop Eli and Big Ben just because that other list is, top 10 all time.
Yeah.
I'll just say this about Peyton.
Hold that thought 1 second before you move off of it. Jay Grimm just wrote in what?
There you go.
Yeah. Jay, what are you saying?
Does
What
that
to?
mean he doesn't understand what we're talking about?
No. It means I think he's questioning what with Harry had said. So, so you're questioning Roethlisberger. You're questioning Eli.
Let
us know, Jay.
If you rank these guys as far as best quarterbacks of all time, I would say you got to look at Brady.
He said a lot of stuff. He said.
Yeah, I always did.
Roethlisberger. He's talking about Roethlisberger. So
yeah, I like Ben Roethlisberger. Don't get me wrong. I would take him.
Thank you, Jay.
9 out of 10, 99 out of 100 times with anybody not on this list.
Right.
But
except for Eli.
Well, I think I would take Roethlisberger over Eli, to be quite honest with you. I think Ben Roethlisberger is a better quarterback than Eli Manning.
I will.
But on this list, he's not better than Drew Brees. He's not better than Peyton Manning. And he's certainly not better than Rodgers and Brady.
No.
I'll just say this about Peyton, kind of what you said about Ben. He had some pretty good teams that he was on. Look, first of all, he's got 2 Super Bowls. Denver didn't win the Super Bowl because of Peyton Manning.
I will say this.
Denver won the Super Bowl because of Von Miller.
They would not have won it if he did not come back. I will say that.
They weren't going to win it with
his leadership and
Well,
that was it Brock Osweiler, right?
They did play a lot better.
And he was better than
Brock Osweiler was not winning that Super Bowl.
That's not saying a whole lot.
But here's the thing: he wasn't great in the Super Bowl, but he did have some big moments towards the end of that season and in the playoffs. And
listen, he was the starting
Jay
quarterback
agrees.
in the team, and they won.
Look,
but
Elway, who was a better quarterback than Peyton Manning, in my humble opinion, would not have won 2 Super Bowls if it wasn't for the supporting cast. I would say that that last Super Bowl, Peyton Manning did as much as John Elway did for that team. John Elway had probably one of the best postseason running backs of all time. And
the point I wanted to make
offensive line.
The point I wanted to make about Peyton is he also had some very, very talented teams, particularly offensively.
Amazing team
on the Colts,
right?
And they didn't win much.
And remember,
he won one with the Colts. That Broncos defense, for his last Super Bowl, much like Eli's defense, much like Ben's defense.
Yeah, but you know what? Great. I mean, everybody says defense wins championships, right? And to a point, it's true. But so does offense. You know, I mean, you still have to score points unless you
still need a good quarterback.
You still need a good quarterback. And I just want to point this one thing out to you: if Drew Brees doesn't win his 1 Super Bowl, Peyton has a third. So
yeah,
you know.
And if Brees doesn't win that Super Bowl, I might stick Ben ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Brees was a gunslinger. I mean, his numbers alone, he's.
You can't go wrong with any 4 of these 6 quarterbacks. No. You can't.
Even now, at their age, I would take any of them starting for the New York Giants.
Give me Brees in a second. If Ben retires, bring him on.
Sure.
Come back. Come back.
Yeah, he might be ready for a comeback.
But I think the top 2 of this entire list are definitely Brady and Rodgers. There's no question there.
And I think Ben is getting.
You can the other 4, while all amazing quarterbacks, and I do have to say, I think Peyton is the best of those 4 of the other 4.
Mm-hmm.
But you could take any 2 of those 4, and it's not you're not going to be too different.
No.
You know, they're closer. I think Eli should have won more Super Bowls. I don't think a lot of it was. I do think it was. He absolutely. No. He absolutely should. Well,
what other year are the Giants going to win a Super Bowl?
I'm not taking away from what he did already. You know, I'm not saying maybe he shouldn't have won
fantasy,
that.
Was he traded to the Patriots or something?
No.
As a backup to Brady?
They absolutely should have won in 2008. The year after, back-to-back, the year after they beat the undefeated Patriots, they should have won that Super Bowl. If it wasn't for a lot of the off-the-field nonsense started by, 2 guys that went to a club with a gun one night. Okay?
Maybe one of them a future guest on this podcast.
Possibly, and we'll have to ask him. But in any event, if that doesn't happen, I really truly believe that the Giants roller skate through that Super Bowl. Roller skate through it. They were 12-4, and they screwed up the last couple of games of the season. They could have been 14-2 that year and roller skated through the playoffs. Absolutely would have won the Super Bowl that year. I mean, look, Kurt Warner at 97 with the Arizona Cardinals almost beat Ben Roethlisberger in that Super Bowl. So the way the Giants were playing, they did. But the way the Giants were playing, I don't think anybody was beating them that year. So I think Eli, if that doesn't happen, if that unfortunate incident doesn't happen.
So there was 1 year where Eli should have won the Super Bowl.
and he didn't. Yeah. Right. Look, but and I always say this, and I've said it on the show before, and I've said it to both of you many times before, not even on the show. As far as the Mannings go, give me Peyton Manning any day of the week during the regular season over Eli. You get me to the playoffs, I want Eli over Peyton.
They're both great, and you know how I feel about Eli. I mean, he's sort of the epitome of New York Giants football. I mean, in a lot of ways. The Giants seem to win when they're not supposed to. Other than the '86 team, the Giants have never been favored in any of their Super Bowls.
No, they haven't. They haven't. Every Super Bowl they've been in.
No.
They were favored. I believe they were favored in the. I believe they were
second one Eli won.
No, they were favored in the 2000 Super Bowl.
No,
they were 14-2, 14-2 that year.
You think so?
Yeah, I believe they were. I mean, it might have been marginal. It might have been like 2.5 points, but I think they were favored over the Ravens. Maybe they weren't. I could be wrong. But if any of them, it was that one. But they certainly weren't favored either game over the Patriots. And I think you're right.
Is that 2000 or 2001?
2000. The 2000 season was January 2001.
Yeah.
What you call it? Jay Grimm put up a bunch of other comments too, and he said it's about leadership as a QB.
Absolutely.
And but he also said,
they're all great leaders.
And he threw this name in there, but I think it was a joke.
And you can tell Jay is from Denver because only Denver fans bring up that name.
Yeah, there you go. Well, he also is from Denver because he did say this. Yeah, as a fan, he wants to see football players. So, and also, rest in peace to Demarius Thomas. Absolutely.
There you go. Yeah.
So,
Tim Tebow's.
Yeah. No joke. Absolutely.
Tim Tebow can actually barely get through a Sports Center interlude these days.
Is that right?
I don't know. Look, they're all leaders. That's why they won.
Jay, thanks.
That's why they won. They're all big leaders.
You're right. Absolutely. All right. So there we go. We have our responses for that. All right. Cool. Let's move on to some football talk. Start with the Giants, unfortunately, as we usually do. Before we get to the game, though, I have a question for both of you. Do you think this chatter about Russell Wilson winding up on the Giants next year seems to be picking up more and more, steam, if you will. Do you think there is actually any, relevance to that, or do you think it's just the New York media, playing it up? Or just a lot of wishful thinking fans?
I think it's wishful thinking. It's like Dame Lillard going to New York. I think Russell Wilson sort of is the Damian Lillard of football. I mean, I don't really think he's going anywhere. I really don't.
Mm-hmm. I don't think Russell Wilson's going anywhere either.
If he does,
hey, I'm right here.
Why? The folly of thinking that he's going to go to the Giants is the fact that the Giants are all in on Daniel Jones. They're not going to trade or sign a veteran quarterback. They're just not going to do it. Now, do I wish they would? Of course.
Right.
But they're not going to do that because they're idiots and they're doubling down on Daniel Jones. Now, the only thing that could possibly change that a little bit is if there's something a little bit more serious with this injury that Jones is going through. And that maybe they think, this might be more serious than we think, and this might have lingering repercussions. I don't think that's the case. I hope it's not the case for his sake. I don't want to see anybody, go out because of injuries. Mm-hmm. But we've talked about this previously, about what teams are a good fit. And I do think the Giants would be a decent fit for Russell Wilson. I think there's 2 or 3 other teams that are a better fit. And if his goal is to go somewhere and win a championship within the next 2 or 3 years, then there's more. There's a little bit more of a proven track record on some of those other teams.
Well, you know what though, a couple of the teams you're talking about though, and I agree with you, but a couple of the teams you're talking about, you not only have to look at the team, but you have to look at the other teams in the division. Not so much when you get to the playoffs, but the team in the division as far as actually winning the division and the things that they can do in the division and get there, whether it's just a wild card or whether, So, I mean, if it's like take the Steelers, for instance, right? Look at the way the Ravens are the Ravens. Look at the way the Browns, they're back and forth now, but they have some form of a team around them. And look at the way the Bengals are playing right now. So it's going to be really difficult for a Steelers team. And not that they're a bad team. They're a good team. They got some issues, but it's going to be more difficult for them to make it to the playoffs from the division than say a New York Giants team, because
they're 2 games behind the Ravens right now.
Right. I'm not saying they can't. Obviously, it's possible, but wouldn't it, or shouldn't it? I shouldn't say that. Shouldn't it be easier for a good quarterback that hopefully will be able to have support and do it with the Giants in the NFC East, or I should say the NFC least, get to the playoffs and then have a run, of sorts there.
Well, do you honestly think it's
I'm not agreeing that that's a good thing or bad
thing, for the
but
Giants to leapfrog Dallas than for Pittsburgh to leapfrog Baltimore?
I think that they can, because I think while Dallas is playing good football this year, I also think part of that is a product of the division they're in.
Sure. They haven't beat, and they've been play. If you split the season into 2
they
right now,
got shut out by the Broncos.
Right.
If they were a solid top of the line football team, and I'm not saying I'm putting Dallas down here, so don't Dallas bash me, anybody out there. But if they were a top of the line football team, they would not. I'm not saying they would have lost to the Broncos. They wouldn't have been shut out by the Broncos. All right, so that's all I'm saying. I mean, there are issues. There are major glowing issues throughout the entire division in the NFC East. So
I don't think the Giants
it's food
are
for thought.
Russell.
Is all I'm saying. I don't think he belongs on the Giants either.
I don't think the Giants are Russell Wilson away.
No,
from
I don't either. I don't either. No, look, they got to build. Look, how many times do I have to say they have to build the damn trenches? It's Daniel Jones could take this team to the playoffs if they have a solid offensive line in front of him. I'm not saying he's going to win the Super Bowl, but he can get to the playoffs if they have a solid offensive line in front of him. End of story. Prove me wrong. And the only way to prove me wrong is to put a solid offensive line in front of him, and then I'll be happy no matter what he does, as long as the offensive line is there. Then we can talk about Russell Wilson.
We've talked about we talked about the Giants, we've talked about the Steelers, we've talked about the Broncos. There's one other team that I would like to throw in there who I think are better than all of them, and I do think he would make a big difference on
Raiders.
No, that's the Colts.
So you don't think Wentz is the real deal there?
I don't.
No.
I don't think, and I think Wilson would be a better. No. Well, how long did they sign him for?
Be there for, I don't know, a while.
Didn't they trade him? Or was it a sign? Was it a new deal?
Well, they traded.
They traded for him.
But he had like a 10-year contract.
Yeah, he had a huge contract, and it was only the first year of that contract.
Okay. Yeah, they're
even if it was a 5-year contract, they still have him for another 4 years after that. So,
well, what are the three teams that Wilson said he would trade? He would waive his
Giants, New Orleans, and Denver,
and the Saints are the other one. Yeah. And look, out of all of those,
I think the Saints is the most.
I think the Saints. Yeah, the Saints are the most attractive.
Yeah.
I unlike you guys, I think he's going. He wants to go somewhere. He will go somewhere. I think he's had it with Seattle.
I think he's had it with Seattle too. My question is Seattle actually going to trade him? Because what are they getting back? There's no quarterbacks in this draft. They're not getting a quarterback from any of the teams. Were they getting Daniel Jones? Are they getting Jameis Winston?
You have to remember
Hill from New Orleans.
Wilson's got
Teddy Bridgewater from the Broncos.
They might be happy with Jameis Wilson and a few draft picks. Yeah.
Well, here's the reason why the Giants.
They have Geno Smith though. So
here's the reason why the Giants are in this discussion. It's because of their draft capital. Because this is a big contract to take on. Russell Wilson's contract is not a small deal.
Yeah.
No.
And I think there's 8 years left. Am I right in that?
Just a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think it's 8, but it might be 6 or 7.
You're committing to a big contract for a guy who I think still has 3 or 4 really good years left in him.
He's got a bunch.
But who's coming off a down year.
Mm-hmm.
And
I honestly don't think it's his fault that he's coming up a down year.
But that's what they have going for him. They have 6 and 7, right?
They also probably, out of all of those teams, have the best receiving talent on paper. Okay. Now, yes, the Saints have Alvin Kamara. But whose defense is the Saints' defense that much better than the Giants? No.
Giants, I think is better than the Saints.
One other thing I want to inject into this, though, is the stability aspect.
Yeah.
And I think that works better for the Saints and probably for Denver than it does for the Giants because, we're all assuming that Gettleman's going to be gone. We don't know how long Joe Judge is going to be around. Let's see here. Russell Wilson is an unrestricted free agent in 2024.
Russell Wilson's an unrestricted free agent in 2024. So he's got 3 seasons.
$19 million this year, $19 million next year, $22 million in 2023, and then he's UFA. So you're getting him for the next 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Okay, I thought he signed a longer contract than that.
I guess it was probably a 5-year deal because it was a couple of years ago. So
4-year, $140 million new money extension in 2019.
There you go.
2 years. 2 years, and it's going to cost you $41 million.
I mean, I would be more excited about him coming to the Giants if Pete Carroll comes with him.
And then I do that. That's fine.
I think he'll go to the Saints.
I don't think his issues with Pete Carroll actually. I don't think that's the case. I think it's the fact that he feels as if they haven't put enough talent around him. But I think the way to win with Russell Wilson is to have a great running game, an as needed passing attack, and a great defense.
All right, now here's the question I want to ask. He obviously has a full no trade clause. So they can't trade him to anybody unless he says okay. He says he's willing to waive that. So that means the team at that point, the team can trade him for whoever and whatever they want, right? If he's waiving the no trade clause, he doesn't have say over where he goes anymore. If it involves one of those three teams. So they can trade him for, theoretically, they could trade him for a bag of balls.
Absolutely.
Not that they would. So that's, I don't know.
What were the other?
I mean,
it was the Raiders, Saints, and who? Who was he willing to go to?
The Saints, the Broncos, and the Giants.
Saints, Broncos, and Giants.
Oh, so it's not the Raiders anymore.
No.
Okay.
But I mean, he
it was
hasn't.
It was Broncos. Denver, New Orleans, and New York.
He has said, I think, only said he would waive the no trade clause. He hasn't signed anything to that effect. So,
yeah,
right.
It may be a situation where they might entertain offers from those three teams, and then he might say, "Oh, I like this one. Send me there, and I'll waive it." I don't know exactly how it works, but
I mean, he immediately becomes the biggest name in New York sports, doesn't he? Other than maybe Kevin Durant. I mean,
I think Durant's number one. Russell Wilson's number two. Yeah. Kyrie's not going to be happy about it, but
I think Russell Wilson shoots right to the top because nobody outside of Brooklyn cares about the Nets.
This is true, Joe.
It is.
No, it's not true.
Kevin
but
Durant's one of the most popular basketball players in the world.
Look,
here in the New York market, what's the story today? What's the number one story today, John, in the tri-state market?
Seth Curry.
Buck Showalter?
Seth Curry.
Seth
Curry setting the 3-point.
Basketball is
Yeah, in the basketball. Sorry, basketball story.
Right,
Not the season that Kevin Durant has had.
But that's the top story in every market.
It's every market. I mean, it's a huge
but I'm saying he
so.
just doesn't get the appreciation. I'm not pissing and moaning about it.
Well, he's not as marketable as Russell Wilson. He's also kind of an asshole.
Well, yeah, that's true.
He's a really talented asshole who I wish would have come to the Garden and played.
Yeah.
But Kevin Durant in his sport is way more talented than Russell Wilson is in his sport.
But
without a doubt, head and shoulders.
My point is,
Kevin Durant's Tom Brady level.
Kevin Durant is probably the best player in basketball.
Yep. There's always going to be a Knicks town, and it's always going to be a Knicks story. At least until the Nets, win the NBA championship.
The biggest
Knicks story it'll be a one-day story.
There's been 4 Knicks stories in the last 5 years. Okay. One was Durant not going to the Knicks. The other was the Knicks making the playoffs last year. And the 2 other stories before that was Oakley getting arrested at the Garden and Ewing getting kicked out.
Yeah.
Those are the biggest Knicks stories.
Ewing getting asked for his identification because they didn't know who the hell he was.
There's nothing that's gone on at the Garden that has been about a Knicks player or a Knicks team doing anything positive.
No. Winning the playoffs is good. I mean, getting into the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying. I mentioned that.
Yeah.
Besides getting into the playoffs, it was Charles Oakley getting kicked out and Pat Ewing looking for his ID.
Yeah. Well, but look at the Nets. What's been the story there, Kyrie?
Whenever you have Kyrie on your team, it's hard. He makes James Harden. He makes James Harden seem like a future senator.
Yeah. Yeah, Kyrie gives you enough bad news to cover.
He makes J.R. Smith
season in the first 2 months.
He makes J.R. Smith, a life coach. It's just that simple.
He makes Stephen A. Smith look easygoing.
That's right. Yeah. Look.
Well, that's anyway. Back to Russell Wilson. I think he leaves. I think he goes to the Saints.
We'll see. I think all 3 are good. I think he's smart in changing his preferences because I do think that those are 3 teams. And the reason for it is, he's talking to the Seahawks. That all 3 of those teams have some decent draft capital. The Giants probably the most.
Yeah, they've got 6 and 7, right?
But
the Jets have more?
Will the Giants admit that Daniel Jones is their Gary Sanchez and move on? That's the question mark.
Well, is either Gary Sanchez or they're Mark Sanchez?
Mark Sanchez, to me, has done more than Gary Sanchez.
Well, Mark Sanchez got the 2 AFC championship games. So.
Exactly.
Well, the Jets defense got the 2 AFC championship
Look,
games. Sanchez did a good job managing things.
I think maybe I think New York might be his best fit with Denver second. I think New Orleans is probably There's a coach there that has a much more. They have the best coach and the best infrastructure. I'm not sure New Orleans is going to solve any of. I think there's going to be as much frustration with that New Orleans Saints team as there is with.
I think of all three places, the best coach is in New Orleans, but I don't think the best program right now with the people around them. And
this might be similar to what the Mets had to do. Okay?
It also has a lot to do. It also has a lot to do with the future of the quarterback in another team in the New Orleans Saints division.
True.
So know.
And I think that if
do you mean?
Russell Wilson's not coming to the Giants unless the Giants make a significant change with Gettleman and get rid of Joe Judge.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
There's more chatter about that. Yeah. Have you noticed that the last couple of weeks there's a lot more chatter about Joe Judge going?
Yeah, I mean there's been veiled discussions of Judge isn't going anywhere, but I don't buy any of that. If they look, Gettleman's gone, they're getting a new GM. If that new GM comes in here, and I honestly don't think it's going to be what's his face, Kevin Abrams. I don't think it's going to be that. I don't think it's going to be anybody from within.
It's going to be Joe Espada.
It's going to be Joe Espada. No, Matt Quattraro. It'll be Buck Showalter when he doesn't get the job.
It's going to be Buck, yeah, because Matt's going to get the Quattraro.
But look, in recent history, okay, the New Orleans Saints have not had to worry about a quarterback. The Denver Broncos, in recent history, have signed big-name quarterbacks at the end of their career. I mean, they've done it. They did it with Peyton Manning, and it won them a Super Bowl. And look, Peyton before that Super Bowl had some incredible years with the Broncos. The Giants have really went since Fran Tarkenton. They've never gone after a veteran, big name Pro Bowl quarterback. Kurt Warner.
And Fran Tarkenton, when the Giants got him, he was a great quarterback and a veteran quarterback, but he wasn't what he was when he went back to the Vikings. So I venture to say
the Giants' DNA.
I venture to say that the Vikings got a better Fran Tarkenton back than they traded 5 years earlier. I do. I believe it. So,
and I do say this: knowing the ownership of it's the upper management of the Giants that I think makes me doubt Russell Westbrook going to the Giants. I think Westbrook is probably really open to it, and
I think Russell Westbrook would love to go to the Giants right now.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the Wizards would let him go.
Right. I mean, I'm sorry, Russell Wilson.
I think you meant Russell.
Well, Westbrook would be a better running. He'd be a great wide receiver.
Right. Exactly.
But you know what I mean.
And
Westbrook isn't on the Wizards, John.
He's
on the Lakers.
He's on the Lakers. That's right. He went to the Lakers. Yeah.
So I think your faux pas is worse than mine.
LeBron's not letting him go.
Yeah.
I went back to before the signing in
There's
LA.
Chatter of Russell Westbrook leaving too, and the Giants are more interested in Russell Westbrook than they are in Russell Wilson.
I think they probably are. Yeah. And in fact, I'd be willing to bet that the Giants would trade both of those first-round draft picks to the Lakers to get Westbrook. So,
and in years past, I would say the Broncos would be a great destination for him, but their defense isn't playing up to where they were last year. I don't really think they do have a really good young running back. Okay, they have two of them. They have one really good first-year guy. I don't think they have the receiving weapons, although Judy is good. I don't think don't count out the Broncos because their organization, but I don't know if he wants to come and play for a Vic Fangio team. I really don't.
So, well, we're going to see what happens with that as it all shakes out. I'm sure that there's probably a good chance that nothing happens more than anything else does happen. So, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And if I had to put money on it right now, I'd say that Russell Wilson winds up in Denver. That would be my pick. That would be my guess.
I'd be excited for that too. And I'll tell you that the whole town would be excited for that. Sure. Not that Teddy Bridgewater, I think, was a bad pickup. I thought he was a good pickup. But the Broncos have not done well drafting quarterbacks.
Right.
Mr. Elway is much better at picking somebody who's already got a resume than picking out of the draft.
Yeah, and I mean they're not.
How long is it before Peyton becomes the GM of that team?
He's not going to become the GM.
with the exception of beating the Cowboys, the Broncos really haven't done much.
No,
right. We talked about them early. They were beating up on the Jets and the Giants, and
that's why I'm saying I mean they're not. They're not a good team. They're not that much better than the Giants.
Yeah.
Let me just put it that way. And they're probably there. I think there's less turmoil on Denver than there is in New Orleans. I other than Alvin Kamara, I'm not sure New Orleans has a team built for a future. I don't think any of these teams are Russell Wilson away from a championship.
Right. Jay Grimm just said, I'm sorry, Harry should run the Broncos.
Thank you.
There you go.
Look, it's
He said, "Go Harry, no Pepe."
The Broncos have a lot of young talent, and I'll tell you, they have I just think it's not the right fit with their coach. Obviously, they have an offensive coordinator that us Giants fans are very familiar with, and he's doing the same thing here.
Yeah, that he did with the Giants.
He's just miserable.
He's horrible. He was the best situation he had was when he was in Minnesota,
right,
and he should have stayed there.
Right, sure. With the Giants and the Broncos, I think there has to be a major coaching change to go along with Russell Wilson having success. Mm-hmm. With New Orleans, there doesn't. Having said that, I think the Giants and the Broncos have more talent for the future than New Orleans does right now.
And I wouldn't be one bit upset if what your theory was that when Roethlisberger retires at the end of the season and the Steelers don't get into the playoffs and management decides and ownership decides to move on for only the third time since 1969 from Mike Tomlin, the John Mara better scramble to just pull him right in and give him whatever he wants.
I mean, is there any place? I mean, either Denver or New York would be a great fit for Tom.
Oh no, I'm sure it would be. I'm just saying, as a Giants fan.
Right.
I
could easily picture Mike Tomlin as a coach of the New York Giants very happily.
So, but anyway, all right. Very, very few seconds to talk about the game on Sunday. Again, Glennon started again over Fromm, which everybody was calling for. Look,
I thought Rich Gannon started.
Gannon should have started. Yeah, Rich Gannon actually should have started. Yeah. So, but the bottom line here is, why, you're not winning with Mike Glennon. You're not winning the game, especially against the Chargers.
Glennon wasn't horrible. He had the same numbers as Daniel Jones at the end.
But look at some of the passes he threw. Some of the passes he threw were just like, oh my God, I could have thrown that.
We're very Daniel Jones-like.
Very Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones throws some decent passes when he has.
Yeah, so did Glennon.
But some of them were like, oh my God, they were horrible. They were Joe Pisarcik passes.
Well, this is his second start.
So sorry, Joe, if you're listening. But anyway, it was his second start. Yeah, this year. Actually, in the last 4 years, but
yeah, ever, right, Glennon?
No. He was a starting QB for Jacksonville for a while.
I think they're auditioning him while Jones is out.
I don't know, but I think Jones is definitely out.
The Giants can't wait for Jones.
Jones more or less is out again this week. And I honestly think at this point, I mean, they're playing the Cowboys, right? Mike Glennon's not beating the Cowboys. He's not beating the Cowboys. It's not going to happen. Start Jake Fromm.
This is going to be the perfect week for all of the Dak Prescott chatter to go away.
If he throws Diggs 4 picks in the first quarter, take him out and put Glennon in, and he can throw another 4. But that's besides the point. I'm just saying, just start the kid. You don't know what you got with the kid. You know what you got with Mike Glennon. It's stupid to even have this conversation.
I don't know.
I mean, they're not paying me the money.
I can't get excited about.
I'm not excited. They're not going to win with Jake Fromm either, but at least do something different.
But I mean, are you really going to see what he's capable of against the Cowboys?
So basically start. You're losing a game. Start Glennon because at least he has the experience to take a sack when he needs to and not force a play.
Or get hurt, or put him in a situation where he's going to,
Well, yeah, like
Daniel Jones.
like Daniel Jones.
Zach Wilson.
Glennon and Fromm.
Like every New York quarterback.
But you didn't think, I mean, Mike effing White, right? That's what everybody says, right? For the Jets.
Least
all right, look, that was,
that was a fluke.
One game, and then he was okay in another game.
I'm kidding. Right. But, the game he was okay and he got hurt. So you couldn't really,
Yeah. The backup quarterback position it's become even more devalued than the running back.
Right.
Yeah, backup is who? It's a hope and a prayer that your starter doesn't get hurt.
Well, you're starting to see a lot of really good teams, and Giants not included in that list. But look, I think the Ravens have actually a pretty decent backup who's similar.
He's great.
There's still some teams that have good backups, but
they still lost.
There's still an awful lot of them that it's just who.
It's really hard to limit a backup quarterback.
It is. It's very difficult. Yeah, and mainly because they don't know the playbook as well as the starter, and the guys haven't. There's some rust or whatever. They work with the scout squad, so they don't get that many reps with the first team. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons for it, but I think there's a lot of teams that have decent. I mean, the Giants had. Perennially had really good backup quarterbacks. I mean, think about it. For 7 games, I think it was 7 games, 6 or 7 games, maybe more, in the 2004 season, the Giants had Kurt Warner as a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
But
since then, though, they never had anybody great behind Eli. Fortunately, they didn't need him.
And who was the backup quarterback for Kerry Collins prior to Eli and Kurt Warner?
Oh, who was that?
He just got fired 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
Jason Garrett.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, but kind of that.
And what number was Jason Garrett?
Aging veteran who can still be productive and who can teach the young kid the ropes of the game. That seems to be fading.
Yeah,
more and more. Now it's just someone young.
I don't know.
He's athletic, and we hope he can survive.
There's no Alex Smith or.
I'm actually interested in why Josh McCown wasn't signed this year.
Well, yeah. I mean, where is Joe Flacco? Is he still in the Jets?
He's still in the Jets. Yeah. So, but anyway, just so you're aware, Jason Garrett was number 17, and that's Jake Fromm's number, and it was also Dave Brown's number. So I just want to bring that around. Useless knowledge.
Egghead stat moment.
There you go. All right. Like we said, just chatted it. Judge should be back, but in his press conference after this second loss with Glennon or whatever, he said he was quoted as saying he saw things that were encouraging. What game was he watching?
Well, look, if you look at it as a whole.
I look at it as a whole every week.
Well, just look at his numbers. Look at his numbers compared to Daniel Jones. They're exactly the same. He had the same amount of turnovers, the same completion rating, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and mediocrity. They're getting the same shit as they always get out of him.
Right.
I
still think the upside with Daniel Jones is more than the upside with Mike Glennon.
It's like saying I'd rather have syphilis than gonorrhea. It's just. It's just
one kills you a little bit quicker than the other.
Exactly. One won't go away. Daniel Jones is the gonorrhea of the Giants. It's just.
Tell us how you really feel.
Well, look, they're not going to win anything with Daniel Jones. It's it's a fact. And I'm not. And this Joe Judge love. How much longer do we have to put up with Daniel Jones, Joe Judge? Uninspired play from the offense, bad play calling, bad offensive, horrible offensive coordinator, and a defense that can't start the year. But, I mean, I don't know. Was the Giants defense great last week? How many points did they give up?
They only gave up 37.
I mean, yes, that was an amazing pass that, what's his name, completed, but under pressure. But the guy was 10 feet open.
Right. I want to bring some based on that. I actually want to bring this up. Remember last week I told you that there was one of the staggering stats of the NFL was the fact that in the last 2 minutes of the first half of all games, the Giants have the record this year, and they were outscored 45-0 in the last 2 minutes of all games this year. Last 2 minutes of the first half of all games this year.
Right.
Now that number is 59-0. Right.
So
they gave up 14. They gave up 14 points after the 2-minute warning of the first half to the Chargers on Sunday. So they're 59-0 in the after the 2-minute warning in the first half of all games this year.
Well, that's the game right there.
Horse shit. That's horse shit.
But what do you expect? The difference is I do not expect anything from this team because I don't think they have the talent to win, and they certainly don't have anybody in the front office or the coaching side who's going to take what talent they have and make them overperform.
Which we call it. John Mara still thinks that Joe Judge is his Bill Parcells / Bill Belichick.
Yeah, and John Mara probably still has a flip phone. I mean, it's just,
You say a flip phone or a foot phone?
a flip phone.
Because I thought you were talking like Get Smart, like the foot phone,
Yeah. If he had one of
Could have
those,
a
that'd
phone
be
in his
way,
shoe.
way,
Shoe, yeah, right.
way
Yeah,
cooler.
at some point, it's got to sink in somewhere amongst the ownership that this just isn't working.
It's not working.
You
None of
made
it's
a
working.
Mistake. You made a mistake.
He made major mistakes. And the first one, trace it all the way back to letting Tom Coughlin go. That was the first mistake. Actually, the first mistake was hiring Jerry Reese after Ernie Accorsi retired. That was the first mistake.
The Giants have made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
They handled the Eli Manning horribly. Coughlin was obviously a big mistake, although, look, in hindsight, it was handled wrong, but they should have moved him into a much more of an upper. Maybe his days as a coach were limited, but they should have handled it differently.
They should have at least for a couple of seasons. They should have let him be head coach, general manager, and then with the understanding that within a couple of years he would fill in his replacement and just remain general manager.
And look, I get it, but Tom Coughlin's another guy who had some really good seasons and some really rough seasons, and he was two incredible performances away from never having a Super Bowl. I mean, the two Super Bowls that he won were extraordinary events that took incredible fortune, let's just say, for the Giants to win. I think he's the best coach since Parcells. Don't get me wrong.
Well,
but he was. How old was he when the Giants fired him?
82.
82. No, he was around 70.
Yeah.
Give or take 68, 69,
70,
70, 71, somewhere in there.
And he was coming off a couple bad seasons.
The thing about the Giants, though,
well, you got to remember, though. I mean, like I said, it started when Jerry Reese took over because they weren't. What did Ernie Accorsi do? Ernie Accorsi built. Look at those offensive lines, and damn it, that's what my freaking point all the damn time.
Defensive lines and the
defensive lines. Yeah, Ernie Accorsi built monsters. You go back to even when they lost the Super Bowl to the Ravens, they still had a monstrous defense and a monstrous offensive line.
And they drafted. They found great receivers deep in the draft
all the time. Ernie Accorsi did it right. He was a disciple of George Young, and he just kept it going.
And when they demanded extraordinary contracts, they let him go, and they found new ones.
Right.
The Giants are doing all of it the opposite way. There's no focus on the offensive line. Their inability to find talent there.
Scouting sucks. They're plain and fucking simple. Scouting sucks.
Their ability to find defensive linemen has been hurt. They have 17, wide receivers. None of them really performing all that great.
No. And how can you perform great when you get thrown to 3 times a game? Because they have 17 of them.
And their so-called skills positions are not living up to what their draft ranking was.
Right.
So it is what it is.
It's not. But you put Jerry Reese in there, and he slowly but surely all of those great defensive linemen and great offensive linemen start retiring, and you got to replace them, and he replaced them with shit. He didn't do the job that Ernie Accorsi was doing.
How do you turn down?
So that was the first mistake. The second mistake was letting Tom Coughlin go.
Well, but the two biggest mistakes in the draft were, number one, picking Daniel Jones with that high of a pick.
Yeah,
number two, letting
Daniel Jones was a second-round quarterback.
Letting Micah Parsons pass you.
Oh, absolutely! They should have taken Micah Parsons.
And
tell the Bears to shove the draft pick up their ass. They can trade with Dallas.
Yeah, those two things right there tell you that these guys have no idea what they're doing.
Not a clue.
Okay, but hasn't this been going on for how long now? How many GMs? How many offensive coordinators? How many head coaches?
Well, that's the problem.
Too many.
Okay.
Too many.
Two
GMs to put a plan.
All right.
Two GMs.
So ultimately, isn't the responsibility on the guys that are hiring those guys?
Ownership.
Doesn't
Absolutely.
it seem like
this
ownership
all falls on John Mara's
doing
lap.
a shit job of
and
picking people to run this team.
Look, Gettleman's going to be gone.
I don't know how you fix that. You can't.
Gettleman's going to be
ownership. You can't hire new owners.
Well, Gettleman's going to be gone, and they're going to have to bring somebody in. I hope from the Patriots.
Do you have
got to come outside.
Why would you have any confidence at this point that they're going to draft someone competent?
They won't
because the only way this is going to change is if they bring somebody in from the outside, and that guy that they hire gets them to say, "Okay, it's all on you. We're staying out of it. It's your boat. It's your ship. You run it how you see it."
Okay, but that guy also has to have. But he also has to have some sort of a proven track record.
Of course,
right?
of course. Well, I mean,
bring in another neophyte GM or a guy who was an assistant GM,
which is why I think the best pick.
Maybe was really good at finding receivers late in the draft or whatever, but he's never really been in on drafting a line. If you need a line, you need a GM who knows how to draft a line.
Right, which is why I think, and I forget the guy's name. I'll look for it really quick. But
on the Patriots,
the assistant GM. So he's Bill Belichick's assistant, and he's been Bill Belichick's assistant for many, many years. He's the guy. He's the guy right there.
Anyone coming out of the Belichick tree.
He's not a coach, though.
He's not a coach. He's a front office guy. He's the guy. He's been working with Bill Belichick, and clearly he's probably been doing a lot more than most assistant GMs do because Bill Belichick also has a team to run as a head coach.
I don't know.
I think he's
Bill
the way to go.
Belichick's making the decisions.
And to your point,
he is.
I'll take Josh
yes
But
man.
if for nothing else, the guy's sitting there watching the decisions and watching the way Bill Belichick works.
He could be a yes man who's good with the numbers.
Is he better than Dave Gettleman?
Exactly.
Well, yes, but that's you're setting the bar pretty low.
You know what? He's still, if he's a yes man that's good with numbers that doesn't have any clue, he's not going to get hired. Right?
A yes man too. Gettleman's not a yes man.
Right.
Gettleman has complete.
No, I'm saying if
control.
he's a yes man to Bill Belichick, who's good with the numbers, then maybe it's not his job to make those decisions. It's his job to work out the numbers and sign those guys.
Right.
I think sometimes being around, and I think you have to take somebody. Look, put it this way: he's been in the room with way better decision making over the course of the last 10 years or 8 years or whatever it is than Dave Gettleman has.
Right.
Well, that's true. I don't know how much of that decision making it falls on him.
Then give me another option.
I don't know. It's I don't know the GM of every team, and which teams have good offensive lines that have had a GM for the last 4 or 5 years who built an offensive line.
Dallas.
Right now the guy from New England is Dave Ziegler. Ziegler. Kansas City, Mike Bergonzi. He's a name that's been mentioned as well, and that's fine. I'll go with that. And even Ed Dobbs from Indiana is fine.
Those are the guys that I'd be looking at.
Yeah. So either way, no matter what,
Ziegler is anything. He might be fine. He might be great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's been a lot of guys who worked, quote unquote, under Bill Belichick.
Yeah, those are coaches, and we get where that went.
I know, but I'm saying there's a track record of guys.
I'll take Josh
who worked under Bill Belichick.
I'll take Josh McDaniel right now. I'll take Josh McDaniel as a head coach. I'll take him.
I would want. How about leave Joe Judge and get Josh McDaniel and Matt Patricia in, and all three of them are the head coach. They're co-head coaches.
Yeah,
actually,
talk about.
If you have Joe Judge as the head coach and you have Josh McDaniel as the offensive, this is not going to happen.
To Pete's point, Joe Judge has never even been a coordinator.
No, well, social teams, but yeah, he's not an offensive defensive coordinator. No, and Matt Patricia's defense. I mean, look, Patrick Graham's not running a bad defense. He's not.
The Giants' defense is,
and they signed him. He's got a contract for another 3 years, or 2 years or whatever it was. But yeah, they obviously need to get a better offensive coordinator in here, and it's not going to be Josh McDaniel. He's not going anywhere. The next job that Josh McDaniel has is the head coach of the New England Patriots when Belichick retires. That's a given. But in any event, I don't know. Whatever. They need to get somebody, bottom line, whoever it is, they need to get somebody in that John Mara and Steve Tisch are going to say, it's your boat, it's your ship, it's your job, you do it. They're going to stay out of it, and this GM is going to run the show. And it's got to be somebody that can build a program and build in the trenches, build that damn offensive line, build that damn defensive line. Not trade picks away when you got a generational friggin' linebacker that's being compared week in and week out to Lawrence Taylor. You let him go. Why? We'll get an extra first rounder next year. It'll be fun. Really? Fuck you. That's my point. That's my feelings.
Yeah, those guys didn't do a good job. That's for sure.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
That's Giants talk here.
That's Giants talk.
Get on with it. There are a few other games in the NFL last week, but fuck them. The Jets suck and they lost.
Is that how you really feel?
Well, we're not talking about the Giants game. I'm not at least. I don't need.
Well, look.
John still expects the Giants to win.
No. I don't expect them to win at all. I don't.
I mean,
but,
I'm surprised. They're right on target for my season prediction.
You're right.
It's what they are.
And the glee that you are taking in that.
No, it's not glee. It's just the fact
Harry,
Harry,
they're on target to not even get to your prediction because they have to win. There's 4 games left.
I know. You're right.
They have to win 3 of them to get to yours.
True.
So they can't possibly win 9.
They have to win all 4 of them to get to my prediction, and Pete's
right
out already.
They're right on track to be what I thought the Jets would be.
Yeah, there you go. And speaking of the Jets...
Are the Jets gonna win today? No. I mean yes. I mean no. I mean yes. I mean no. I mean yes. I mean no.
No, they're not going to win.
No, they're just terrible. They're terrible and whatever. First year growing pains. I'm fine with it. You know,
look, you didn't expect them to do. They're the youngest team in the NFL.
There was so much hype.
Robert Sala's first year as head coach.
You know, I don't know if there's another team who would have taken Zach Wilson if they'd had that spot that the Jets had with that pick.
Right.
Maybe.
You don't think there's any other team that would have taken Zach Wilson that high? Is that what you're trying to say?
Maybe.
I
don't know. I don't know if other teams. Maybe. I should say this. I don't know if there's any other team. I think it got out there that he was the guy the Jets were going after, and they focused on him, and then the hype machine starts, and then but that happens with everybody, right? They become better quarterbacks than they ever really were because teams are trying to pump themselves up and convince themselves that this is worth using a top 5 pick on. So, and I'm not saying he won't be good. I hope he is. But rookie quarterback, rookie coach, growing pains. Okay, I thought they'd win a couple of more games.
Yeah,
but
they have a chance to. They have a chance to.
They do. I thought Wilson would be okay. I wasn't expecting him to be great. I thought he'd be a little better than he has been. But
I thought he'd be a little bit better too.
Yeah.
But
he hasn't lived up to the meager expectations.
He hasn't lived up. No, of course not. But then again, none of them really have. The only one that has is Mac Jones. I mean, and I don't think he lived up to his expectations. I think he far surpassed his expectations.
Yeah, well,
he did. But
yeah,
and then of course everybody's getting compared to Mac Jones, so that makes Zach Wilson, and for that matter, Trevor Lawrence and Trey Wilson and Justin.
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance hasn't played.
Trey Bradford.
Trey Lance. Trey Lance. Let's
and
be
Justin
fair.
Fields.
Trey Lance has not.
He played a couple of games, right?
He's not the starting. He's not the.
No,
he wasn't going to be. He wasn't going to be. He was going to sit behind Garoppolo for a year.
I think Justin Fields. To me,
That's who the Giants really should look at getting.
Well,
if they need a bridge quarterback and Russell Wilson's not going to be it, they should really look at Garoppolo.
Oh, Garoppolo. I thought you meant Justin Fields. Justin Fields, I think.
They could have had Justin Fields.
I think he's sort of, in the beginning of the year, sort of exceeded expectations. I think he's, the jury is still out on him. But
well, amongst everyone, all of the rookie quarterbacks who are not Mac Jones, who's got the greatest upside?
Trevor Lawrence.
But look, there's rumors in Jacksonville of a coaching change.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not a good team. I mean, Jacksonville, I think, is worse than the Jets.
And Jacksonville is a team, and they've said it before, ownership-wise, they always extend, far beyond any other team as far as patience goes with, coaching and so forth.
Yeah. But that's kind of the typical situation for the top or amongst the top young quarterbacks. They go to a lousy team and they suck for a couple of years, and that's where you see that.
Except Joe Burrow.
Well, look at Joe Burrow, right? Joe Burrow was the reason the Bengals were any good at all last year.
He's the reason why they're any good this year.
Yeah.
Well, Jamar Chase has a little to do with it too. So.
Well, yeah.
But okay, but still. I mean, offensively, it was and.
Giants have just as high a draft pick wide receiver running routes, but they don't have anybody to throw to him. So,
listen, the Giants have bad management, and they have bad ownership.
My point being, but look, the Bengals are one loss to the Broncos of being out of the playoffs, and so
yes, they've come back to earth. They've come back to earth.
Yep.
I don't think that's. I wouldn't put that on Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's playing hurt too, so let's give him.
They were the number. If I remember this graphic, I didn't put it on, but if I remember this graphic correct from yesterday, the Bengals were the number 1 seed 6 weeks ago, and they are now the 13th seed or something. Yeah. Not 13th, 11th seed.
They've lost a lot of close games, and that last one was tough. But
although look at what they were doing 2 years ago, and even last year, so after Burrow got hurt. Right. I mean, they're over 500 now. It's progress. It's progress.
Right.
Or what was essentially the one of the laughing stocks of the league.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So I mean, that's what you should be hoping for if you're a Bengals fan, right? Is you're building, and that's what you should be hoping for. If you're a Jets fan, you should be building. And I mean, it's a little different with the Giants because they have such great skill players that theoretically,
they have decent skill players.
Well, they've got a nice receiving core. You want to say there's too many
on paper. Okay. A lot of receiving that everybody was really happy to get rid of.
Well,
I don't know about that. I mean, Galladay wasn't a trade. Galladay was a free agent, and they signed him.
Yeah.
But in any event, a couple things with that. The Jets, and not that this is specifically for that, but the Jets and the Giants, this is the third week, this weekend coming up, is the third week out of the last 4 weeks that the Jets and the Giants are on both at 1 o'clock. Do you think the NFL doesn't give a shit about that in New York anymore? Is it kind of becoming evident?
Well, listen,
they never were this many times, especially this often.
Well, they don't even have the great story.
They're not going to be the games, the national games, and
right.
No. And Jets and Giants fans don't watch each other's games very rarely, unless you're living with somebody who's a Jets fan or a Giants fan.
That's my point. But
and not only that, but they don't have necessarily don't have the great story that the Bills. That was the Bills anymore because they're falling apart.
Right.
So why cover New York football? I mean, you're still going to cover the Bills, of course, but there's no
different
reason.
market. The New York.
Then the Giants and the Jets get 2 guys in the booth that nobody even knows. Like I don't even recognize that voice. Who the hell's doing it? The 3 of us could be doing the game, and we could
but nobody wants. I mean, look,
it's Jody Albert.
Could you imagine the 3 of us doing a Giants game?
It's tough to watch the Giants or the Jets. It's
really hard. It's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, you got Joey Albert and Phil Gumble doing the game.
You got Joe Franklin,
Joe Franklin,
Floyd.
Yeah, brothers from those famous broadcasting families that no one's ever heard of.
Lloyd Lindsey Young did the Jets game last week.
Jay Grimm said he'll take Pete. So.
Thank you, Jay. I would gladly do it.
Please, can I be color? Please, can I do color?
Fine.
All right.
I want to be Booger McFarlane and sit in the stands on a moving chair,
moving back and forth. Oh, please let that
just be reviewing the French fries that everybody's eating.
Just throw them on the field and read.
They just don't want them calling play-by-play.
Imagine actually interviewing. What can we
do with them?
Me actually asking Giants fans what they think. That'd be great. It would just be a series of blurb of bells.
Well, but then you might get somebody who's kind of optimistic, and then you'd be arguing with them.
Apparently, you got to be tight end, Harry.
Okay, all right.
And does that mean jury's out on me? Is that what that is?
I don't know.
Not sure. So,
I don't know.
Anyway, trust me, color. That's where you want me.
All right.
In any event, all right. Couple things.
What other games do you want to talk about?
Well, I just want to bring this one thing up. A couple things regarding the Giants. Not that it had to be in Giants talk, but ESPN NFL insider Jeremy Fowler predicts that the New York Giants this offseason will sign to a 1-year, $4.5 million deal at quarterback Andy Dalton.
As a backup?
I would imagine not, but no.
Oh, we know how well. Where is he now?
Chicago.
Yeah, we know how well Dalton time went in Chicago.
If the Giants do that,
Dalton time for about 3/4.
Then I'm gonna organize an actual lighting of Giant Stadium
with torches.
Look, if you're Jones is in the last year? No, next to last year.
I don't know. It's just
Jones is in his 3rd year. He's got another year and then an option for the
next year is going to be the year that they're going to have to decide whether they resign.
Painful as getting.
They have another year at cheap money for Daniel Jones. He's not going anywhere.
Okay, so I don't know.
Unless they're trading him with a package of draft picks and stuff like that for a Russell Wilson or whoever, that kind of a thing. Other than that, he's not going.
But if you're, or maybe
you're not cutting him either. He's cheap.
I mean, Andy Dalton is a backup to Russell Wilson. Okay.
That's what he means. I doubt it, but
unless there's somebody they have their eye on in a few years, and you're figuring we're going to trade Jones for whatever we're going to trade him for.
Right.
Maybe not
Right,
another
right.
quarterback, but we bring Dalton in.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
finding cottage cheese in your refrigerator.
well, but it's kind of the idea of the
bridge.
bridge quarterback, right?
Right.
The bridge to what?
I don't know.
The bridge to.
I don't know. That's the thing. But I mean, do you really want
Bridges of Madison County?
Dalton's done.
Dalton's done. Dalton will be a backup, another team for a year or two, and then another team.
Dalton
He'll
is
turn
one of
into-
5 quarterbacks in the league that are not better than Daniel Jones.
Right. Yeah. That's all. He just has more experience. That's all. Another thing on the Giants.
He wasn't completely terrible all the time.
No.
Andy Dalton had some great years.
He had some great years, but
Yeah.
he's just too old and washed up now.
Yeah, I just don't think he has it in him anymore. He's
So
pretty
it's,
bad.
yeah, right. He's exactly what we were talking about. What I was talking about before. He's that veteran guy that you bring in
For who?
to help tutor the young kid. And
tutor
if
him,
you're,
yeah.
Too late.
and
for
if
that
the
for
young guy
Giants.
gets hurt, he's at least a serviceable quarterback. You put in for
He would have been perfect for the Jets. He was their Joe Flacco before they signed Flacco.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But
The another thing on the Giants. Is there that this was a an article I read. Is there a curse? Remember the curse of Bambino, right? Is there a curse of Eli Manning? The Giants are now 0-5 versus the Chargers since the 2004 NFL Draft.
no.
Not
Yeah.
that that matters. They're 5 games in
Yeah,
17 years, but who gives a shit?
Yeah.
But I just thought it was funny to bring that up. But here's the more
No.
important note on the Chargers game from the Chargers game. The Giants, with that loss on Sunday, have now secured a 5th straight losing season and 8th in the last 10 years. 8th
pretty
losing
bad.
season in the last 10
Yeah, we're
years.
going back to the Pisarcik era.
It's the 70s. It's the 70s all over again.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
know.
think is it shoot, what did I hear the other day? Maybe since the year is it 2010 maybe?
okay.
The Giants and the Jets, I think one of them has one more. They're the two losingest teams or have the
Yeah.
most losses
All right,
in
so
the
let me
last 10
let me-
years. But they're one loss apart. I forget whether the Giants or the Jets are
Yeah.
one loss.
Giants
ahead.
are one game up on the Jets.
one game up on the
All right, let me summarize so we can move on to the next segment. The Giants and the Jets both stink. There's really a little bit more hope on the Jets side, but not much on the Giants side. And if the big splash is the Giants are going to sign Andy Dalton, then I'm done.
Right.
I'm done.
I am
Plenty
as
of
well.
room on the hay wagon here.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
right.
come right over and
I'd-
suffer.
I root
I think
for the
he's.
Jets.
I think he's already got a team that he can bandwagon on.
Yeah,
and
Saskatchewan Rough Riders.
Rough Riders, exactly, exactly. Couple of the games. The what about the Bucks game? The Bucks were up 27-3,
Look,
Yeah.
and they let the Bills come back.
Here's my take on that. Okay, the Bills are a good team. The
Mhm.
Bills are not playing up to the potential. It's not the Bills' offense necessarily. Yes, when you make the Bills throw the ball and you relax your defense,
Mhm.
they're the most dangerous team in football, maybe.
Mhm.
Okay, but at the end of the day, they tied the game. They couldn't get it done in overtime, and Brady came out and won the game.
Right.
So the difference is that the Bucks won that game. That's where they're at this year, and the
Mhm.
Bills lost that game. And that's the difference in the two teams, because basically they're at the beginning of the year, and I still think this right now, they're both capable of going to the Super Bowl.
Sure.
But Tampa Bay is way more
Season.
consistent
Mhm.
than the
Yeah,
Bills.
they're more balanced too.
Right. They are.
Yeah, they got a running game this year, which they didn't even really have.
Yeah,
They run
and part of that running game is Brady. How the hell did that
Well,
happen?
well, let's not get carried away.
Well, no,
But
he's
he did-
actually getting
he did
more than a
funny.
yard and 2 yards here
Well,
and
he
there.
had a rushing touchdown, two passing, one rushing.
He had like 3 or 4 rushes. I mean, I'm in comparison to what he normally does. Obviously,
Look,
I'm not comparing him to Lamar
Bucks-
Jackson. I'm
Bucks,
just saying.
the Bucks only lose when they have turnovers, and they don't very often have turnovers.
Right.
So
By the way, to answer your question, Jay, this show it goes as long as we have things to talk about.
yeah,
So is
tried.
that,
We don't set a time limit on it. We don't.
Yeah.
set
We
a
don't.
time. Strap in, Jay.
strap on in.
yeah.
Uh, And that's not to say the same thing that Pete says on his OnlyFans page.
No, that has a different meaning.
You could do that. We don't care. If you got a Broncos strap on, bring it out.
Bring it on out. There you go. But in any event, speaking of the Bucs, though, what was his Brady's 700th touchdown, right? That touchdown pass.
Yep.
So, I don't know if you noticed or not, but they had a ball boy, if you will, on the field. As soon as the ball was down on the ground, he literally ran out. The play was over, obviously, but there were still players rushing in and everything else to celebrate and all of that. He actually ran onto the field to grab that football, unlike the one that Mike Evans gave away a few weeks ago.
Right.
But in any event,
quickly deflated it. So
quickly deflated it.
Accidentally get back in the game.
Absolutely right. Bruce Arians actually said the other day. He says he doesn't think there will be any records left when Brady retires. That's what he said.
Yeah, who knows?
So anyway, but
good for him.
Good for him. What'd you think of the Packers-Bears game on Sunday night? Obviously it was all Packers, but in the beginning it didn't look like it was going to be.
It's a typical Packers-Bears
blowout.
game.
It was going to be.
It's
gotcha.
Packers dominate the Bears. It's been that way for a while.
I know, and the Packers are closing in on the Bears' most wins record. Bears have 781 career all-time wins, and the Packers are now at 778. So they're only 3 games behind them.
So basically, by the end of the season,
they could very well, by the end of the season, be the number 1 winningest team.
Yeah.
And they're just as they're the same. They were 2 original teams, right? 1920, 1919, 1920, something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, and did you see this in the game too? Did you see the doppelganger?
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers
he didn't look
doppelganger.
that much like.
All right, I'm going to put it up on let's talk about it. I'm going to put it up for a second.
It's like me and the George Clooney doppelganger pictures.
To me, he looks more like Steve Carell trying to be Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's what he looks to me. So, but anyway.
It's sort of a resemblance, but.
The resemblance is the Packers beanie that he's wearing and the beard.
White guy with a beard.
Yeah.
Packers jersey on.
Exactly.
7 bars in this town on every Sunday. There's 12 guys that look just like that. We're not even in Green Bay.
There you go. But I honestly think, I think he looks more like Steve Carell trying to be Aaron Rodgers. That's what I think. So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, we didn't even talk about the most exciting game, which was the Cardinals getting beat.
What's that? Don't move on to picks.
At home.
Cardinals got beat. Yes.
I know.
That was next on the list because I was on Sunday night and. Here we are.
I gave up on my Rams. I think the coin took the Rams.
The coin took the Rams. The 3 of us lost the game. Right?
Yeah.
Look, the Cardinals might be in trouble, too, because their best receiver and one of the best receivers in the game is now out for the year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
correct.
So. Both these teams, I don't have as much faith in.
They have other weapons, but.
Yeah. The Rams are, they're like the Nets. They're capable of beating anybody on any day. And when they're all playing well. They're hard to beat.
Yep.
But that game was closer than the score sort of indicated.
Game was close.
And the Cardinals played a pretty bad game.
They did.
And
they played a bad game, and they were only 1 touchdown away from.
And that last penalty was
bad.
Oh
yeah.
How do you let the game be dictated by a call like that? Come on.
A lot of them are.
Come on. Yeah, there's bad refereeing in the
everywhere.
Too much. Let them play. Let them play.
It's ridiculous.
But they did get stuffed.
It wasn't a holding call. He wasn't.
They did get stuffed twice on 4th down. So
they did.
This is true.
The Rams. Look, the Rams defense, I think, finally played up to their potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting.
It made my week go from 5-0 to 4-1, but maybe that's a good segue into our picks, so maybe we can get done by 11 o'clock.
I believe we can, because I think at this point we should segue.
Is that the over/under?
We should segue into that's the over/under. No, we'll be done before that. We'll be done before that.
Sure, we will.
Why, you don't think we will?
Well, I got a lot of basketball.
No basketball. Let's go. Move it.
All right, let's get to the picks. Beaten by the coin.
Beaten by the coin.
I'm sure I'll lose to the coin.
No one wants to be beaten by the coin.
All right. So a quick recap of last week. You guys went 4-1. Wait, that's not the right week. Oh, you
That's
guys
right.
went 4-1.
Yeah, we did. We went 4-1.
Yeah, and I went 3-2,
2.
and the coin went 2-3. So
Now we're both 1 game behind you.
both 1 game behind. I told you I was going to give my 2-game lead back. So
You should have stuck with your Rams.
I know.
Then you would have been 4-1
I
as well.
don't think I was very close to picking them, to be honest.
No, nobody was.
I was not waffling or
But
wavering.
you'll
on that.
think about him again in the future.
Yeah, you will.
I will.
And you'll
I
and
will.
you'll pick them this week, and the Seahawks will win. Even though we're not taking that game, but just in general.
All right. So what
Yeah.
games have we got going?
All
Start
right,
it out.
so we got the Jets visiting Miami.
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 Okay.
Even the coin doesn't want to.
This might be a good game for the Jets to win.
Oh,
But
this
that
would be a
doesn't mean
great
they will.
game for the Jets to win.
They're
not
going to
gonna
beat.
do
They're
it.
going to beat Jacksonville. They're not going to beat Miami.
Yeah. All right,
Miami's a good team.
Yeah, they are.
coin says tails.
They're taking the Jets.
Going with the Jets. The coin loves the Jets.
There you go.
Uh,
All right. Dallas visiting the Giants.
Dallas.
Dallas.
I concur.
Coin's going to pick the Giants.
Coin's going to pick Mike Lennon.
Coin says home team, Giants.
There
All right, we've got New England visiting Indianapolis. Can New England continue their winning streak and put it at 31?
I do
Yes.
believe so.
Indy have enough defense?
Nope.
They don't have enough defense. Do they have
Jonathan
enough
Taylor's going to
offense?
run a lot, but he's not
That's-
going to run as much as he's going to because
It's
of
gonna be a
that
close game.
defense.
It's gonna be a
going to
close
be a
game.
close game.
Carson Wentz is going to be forced into a couple turnovers, and the Patriots win.
There you go.
I'm taking the Colts.
All right.
There you go.
I gotta
So you
give
really
the-
want us to catch
I
up
got to
here.
give the game back somewhere. All right, coin says home team.
Taking
Going
the
with the
Colts.
Colts.
That
You and the
definitely-
coin.
That definitely means it's a loss.
Here's the hardest one. Here's the hardest one of the week. Coming
This
up.
is.
No, that was.
He's got him reversed. That we wrote him down.
KC and the Clippers.
KC and the Clippers and the Sunshine Band. I think the Chiefs are back on track. I'm going to take the Chiefs even on the road. I think they win.
Yeah,
I think
look
it'll
like,
be a close game, but I think the Chiefs will win.
Yeah, I agree.
I concur.
think
The Chiefs will
Yeah.
win the game.
They're gonna pressure Hebert into.
Mhm.
He's
Hebert.
going to have a little bit more pressure
he's-
than he had last week.
Yeah, he's really good though. But
Yeah.
Bobby
Well,
Hebert.
They both
Yeah.
are. There's a couple good quarterbacks in this game.
yeah, it'll be like a 13-11
Yeah, right.
Chiefs win.
Right.
And the coin says tails. They like
The Chiefs. There you go.
all right. And the battle of the 2 and 11s. It's the Planet Houston against the Jacksonvillers.
The Jacksonvillers. See, that would be a team name.
I think I think the Rockets win.
Oh, Harry likes the Rockets. I kind of do too.
They have the Astros cheating team.
They've taken the garbage cans and they
They're taking the cans and the binoculars
one
with them.
bang if it's a pass, one
That's
two
right.
if it's a run.
Right.
I do have to say I kind of agree with that. I think they've found a way to win games that they can win, and I think they're going to do it again. And Jacksonville is so in disarray right now.
Really?
I think
Yeah, I mean,
my,
they're home-
my logic is they beat them when Jacksonville was a better team in the beginning of the season. I think Houston's a better team now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But this could go.
It could go either way. I mean, it's probably going to be a 9-7 game.
It should be a 5-5 tie.
Be nice to see another tie.
There you go.
All right, coin says heads.
Going with the Jags.
Taking the Jags. I'm tempted, but I don't think being at home really means anything to Jacksonville.
No.
So.
Not at all.
So there we go. So we got one difference amongst us, and that should be enough. So we'll be all tied up at the end of this week.
There you go. All right.
Thanks,
And that's this
Colts.
week's Beaten by the Coin.
That might have been a record.
We're getting good. Wait till you see how quick we do this top 10.
Oh yeah, the top 10.
Yeah,
Mhm.
only that hour-long segment.
Oh, it's quicker now.
It is.
It's quicker now.
Yeah, there's
than
really
ever
not
before.
as many accolades to talk about with all these players.
Not so much with this one.
This
No,
week's
no,
top
no,
10
no,
is the top 10 Seattle bands of the 90s.
Oh, crap. All right. Let's get to first of all. Let me get the echo off of my voice first. Not that you
don't
can
wanna-
hear it, but I do.
Got a little Aussie echo going
A
on.
little Aussie. I got a little chorus going on. So a little slap back delay. Anyway, let's move on to our top 10 list. This week's top 10 list is top 10 Seattle Seahawks of all time. You couldn't guess from the jersey I was wearing.
The Water Chickens.
The Water Chickens. Top 10 Seattle Seahawks of all time. And, of course, how many we have? 12. So we got a tie, a two-way tie at 9 and a two-way tie at 8. So, and here we go. And we will start with number 10 because that's where we always start with Mr. Matt Hasselbeck. Matthew Michael Hasselbeck.
Who put him on their list?
I'll give you 3 guesses.
Oh, God. Anyway, sorry, Matt Hasselbeck.
There you go.
He was a pretty good Seahawk.
There you go. And ironically,
obviously top 12 of all time.
and if you Google Matt Hasselbeck, the first thing that pops up, first like 5 things that pop up are his Colts pictures.
Yes.
So, but there you go. So, anyway, he was drafted. He's a quarterback, obviously. Drafted out of Boston College in 1998, 6th round, pick 187, by the Green Bay Packers. He played on the Packers for 3 years, and then he went to the Seahawks for 10 seasons. He was on the Seahawks for 10 years. A couple years on the Titans. Finished out his career for a few years with Indy. 3-time Pro Bowler. He's a member of the Seattle Seahawks 35th anniversary team. He won the Steve Largent Award in 2009. We'll talk more about that later on. And whatchamacallit, he, of course, had passing yards, total career passing yards, 36,638. So not too shabby. I mean, he did have a decent career passing. His career passer rating is 82.4.
Yeah, but how many years was he on the Seahawks?
10.
Okay.
10 seasons. That's where he got most of his stats from, obviously.
All right, Matt Hasselbeck. Good
There
for
you go.
buddy.
Number 10, Matt Hasselbeck.
He's no Jim Zorn.
He's no Jim Zorn. No, but who is? Maybe John Kitna, but Anyway,
Was Dave Craig on your list?
Dave Craig's not on the list.
Dave
either.
Craig did not make the list.
Dave Craig did not make
You
the
picked
list.
Matt Hasselbeck over Jim Zorn and Dave Craig.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
All right.
So there you go. All right. Moving on to number 9. We got a 2-way tie at number 9. Our first number 9 is Mr. Richard Sherman. Richard Kevin Sherman, to be exact. Cornerback, drafted in the 5th round of 2011 draft out of Stanford by the Seattle Seahawks. He played 7 seasons on the Seahawks. And he was on the 49ers for 3 years, and he is currently a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Super Bowl champion with the Seahawks, of course, in Super Bowl, what's that?
The one they won.
Super Bowl 48. That's it. Super Bowl 48. I'm trying to do the Roman numerals really quick in my mind there. 3-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, interceptions leader in 2013, and he also won the Steve Largent Award. So there you go. Number 9, tied for number 9, Richard Sherman. Moving on, also tied for number 9 is Beast Mode. Mr. Skittles himself, Marshawn Terrell. It could be either. I'm not sure. Marshawn Lynch. There we go. Running back, drafted in the 1st round, pick number 12 overall in the 2007 draft out of California. By the Bills. He played for 4 years on the Bills. Then he got traded in year 4 to the Seahawks and played for 6 years on the Seahawks. A couple years on the Raiders, back to the Seahawks for a year, and he's been doing commercials since. Super Bowl champion in Super Bowl 48, of course. First-team All-Pro in 2012. Second-team All-Pro in 2014. 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL rushing touchdowns leader. Clearly, Pete Carroll wanted him to get another one in the Super Bowl, but he didn't. Didn't want him to get another one in the Super Bowl, so he didn't, I should say. Member of the 2010 All-Decade team, and he has 10,413 rushing yards total for his career, average of 4.2 yards per carry, with 85 rushing touchdowns. There he goes. Beast mode. Marshawn.
You know what Jim Zorn's career passer rating was?
What's that?
67.3.
Is that right? What's Dave Craig's? As long as you're looking.
I don't know.
All right, we'll check it out while we.
I gotta figure out how to add a third guy.
Was it higher than Marshawn Lynch?
It was higher than Marshawn Lynch's career passer rating. Exactly. Absolutely.
I'm just saying Matt Hasselbeck was a much better Seahawk than Jim Zorn is.
All right.
Or was.
Okay, fair enough. Well, you should check out Dave Craig really quick, though. And while we're speaking of Dave's, we're going to move on to number 8. Tied for number 8 is Mr. Dave Brown. No, not the Dave Brown from the Giants. The cornerback, David Stephen Brown, cornerback drafted in the 1975 draft in the first round, pick number 26 overall by the Steelers. Went to the Steelers for a year, and then he played for 11 seasons on the Seahawks and finished his career up with the Packers for a couple of years. Super Bowl champion in Super Bowl 10 with the aforementioned Steelers. Pro Bowler in 1984, two-time second-team All-Pro. He's in the Seattle Seahawks Ring of Honor, and he had 62 career interceptions, 698 interception yards, and 5 touchdowns. And he's in the College Football Hall of Fame. Mr. David Stephen Brown, tied for number 8. Also tied for number 8 is Mr. Bobby Wagner. No, not the Mets' former closer. Bobby Joseph Wagner. Middle linebacker out of Utah State, drafted in the second round of the 2012 draft. Been on the Seattle Seahawks since 2012, and he's still playing on the Seattle Seahawks. Super Bowl champion and, of course, Super Bowl 48. 6-time first-team All-Pro, one-time second-team All-Pro. 7-time Pro Bowler so far out of 10 seasons. Not too shabby. All-rookie team in 2012. 2-time NFL tackles leader. Remember the 2010s All-Decade team, and he won the Steve Largent Award as well.
And he'll probably wind up higher on this list at some point.
At some point, he will move up on this list, absolutely. So there you go. Bobby Joseph Wagner, tied for number 8. Moving us to Mr. 7. Tonight's Mr. 7.
Mr. 7.
Mr. 7. Number 7 tonight is Earl Thomas. Earl Winty Thomas III. Earl Winty Thomas III. Free safety, drafted out of Texas in 2010 in the first round by the Seahawks. Played 9 seasons on the Seahawks and then went to the Ravens for a year. Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 48, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, and he won the Steve Largent Award as well. Total 713 total tackles and only 2 sacks, but he's a free safety, so not many safety blitzes did he run. He actually reached the quarterback. So there you go. Earl Winty Thomas III, number 7. Mr. 7. Tonight's Mr. 7.
Craig's rating 81.5.
81.5.
Still less than Hasselbeck's.
Hasselbeck's was
82.4.
82.4. Close, but no cigar.
He played, I think he played about a few more years for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
About 12 years, but
12 years.
About 1,500 more yards altogether.
There you go. So close numbers. You can put them together. All right, moving on to number 6. Number 6 tonight is Sean Edward Alexander, running back out of Alabama, drafted in the 2000 draft in the first round, pick number 19 overall by the Seahawks. Played 8 seasons for the Seahawks and then a year for the Redskins afterwards. NFL MVP in 2005. Offensive Player of the Year in 2005 as well. One-time first-team All-Pro, one-time second-team All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, won the Burt Bell Award in 2005. Rushing touchdowns leader in 2005. 2-time NFL rushing touchdowns leader. He also won it in 2001 as well. Remember the 2000s All-Decade team, the 35th anniversary team of the Seahawks. And there you go. Almost just a little shy of 10,000 rushing yards for his career, with 100 even rushing touchdowns. Sean Alexander, tonight's number 6. Moving on to number 5 is the jersey I'm wearing, and we talked about him at length, ad nauseum before, Mr. Russell.
Flip Wilson.
Future giant Russell Wilson.
Future giant Russell Carrington Wilson. Quarterback, obviously, drafted out of Wisconsin. Went to NC State for a few years before that, but they drafted him out of Wisconsin in 2012. Third round, pick 75 overall on the Seahawks, still playing, obviously, from 2012. Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 48. Walter Payton Man of the Year in 2020. Second-team All-Pro in 2019. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler, passer ratings leader in 2015, and passing touchdowns leader in 2017. There you go. And he will, he may move up on the list. Maybe stays right around where he is, but he's still playing. It depends on, where he goes and what he does going forward. That's obviously
if they don't get significantly better over the next couple of years, if he stays there, then he's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere on the list. Yeah, there you go. So
not on our list anyway.
No, not on our list. Yeah. So number 5, Mr. Russell Wilson. All right, Moving on to number 4, Mr. Kenny Easley. Kenneth Mason Easley Jr., strong safety out of UCLA, drafted in 1981, the first round, pick 4 overall by the Seahawks. Played 7 seasons for the Seahawks. That was his entire career, 7 seasons for the Seahawks. 5-time Pro Bowler, 4-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro. NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 84. Member of the 1980s All-Decade Team. He's in the Seattle Seahawks Ring of Honor. And his number 45 on the Seahawks is retired. And he is a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, as well as the College Football Hall of Fame as well. So there you go. Number 4 tonight, Mr. Kenny Easley. Moving on to number 3 is Mr. Cortez Kennedy. Cortez Kennedy, no middle name given. Cortez Kennedy, first one on the list. Defensive tackle, drafted out of Miami in 1990. First round, pick 3 overall. Spent his entire 11-year career with the Seattle Seahawks. Defensive Player of the Year in 92. 3-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler. Member of the 1990s All-Decade Team, and he won the Steve Largent Award as well. Also in the Seattle Seahawks Ring of Honor, and his Seattle Seahawks number 96 is retired, and he indeed is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. Number 3, Cortez Kennedy. Moving on to number 2, Mr. Walter Jones. Walter Jones Jr., to be exact, offensive tackle out of Florida State. Drafted in 1997 in the first round, pick 6 overall. Spent his entire career, his entire 13-year career, 13-year career with the Seattle Seahawks. 4-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler. Member of the 2000s All-Decade Team. Member of the NFL 100th Anniversary Team. Member of the Seattle Seahawks Ring of Honor. His number 71 on the Seahawks is retired, and he is in Canton in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. Mr. Walter Jones Jr., number 2 on our list tonight. And if you haven't guessed it, number 1 on our list tonight, Mr. Steve Largent. There you go. Steve Largent, wide receiver, drafted out of Tulsa in 1976 in the 4th round by the Houston Oilers at the time. And he was traded to the Seattle Seahawks in the same offseason. Never played. Just an offseason member of the Oilers. So basically started his career in Seattle, played his 15-year career with the Seattle Seahawks. He was a NFL Man of the Year in 1988, first-team All-Pro in 1985, 4-time second-team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL rushing touchdowns leader. Everything all right? What was that? Member of the 1980s All-Decade Team, member of the NFL 100th Anniversary All-Time Team, member of the Seattle Seahawks Ring of Honor, member, of course, his number 80 with the Seahawks is retired. And he was the very first recipient ever of the Steve Largent Award. And he, of course, is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, having been inducted so in the year 1995. Number 1 on our list tonight, Mr. Steve Largent. And we'll leave that up there for a minute because let's talk about the Steve Largent Award. Steve Largent Award started in 1989 and won by Steve Largent. And a lot of the top members, obviously, of this list of ours tonight did receive it. But a few got it multiple times. Russell Wilson's won it 3 times. Let's see, 1, 2, 3 times. Yeah.
What does the Steve Largent Award embody?
The Steve Largent Award is given by the Seattle Seahawks annually to the team's contributor or contributors that best exemplify the spirit, dedication, and integrity of former Seahawk wide receiver Steve Largent.
What a douchebag.
It's almost as coveted as the Plexico Burrs Award.
Yes. Well, there is one of those. So, anyway, but
that's given out by the NRA, right?
Oh, God.
We'll never have him on the podcast.
Well, there's never going to be a podcast now.
Come on, he has a sense of humor.
I hope so. All right. Anyway, there you go. That's our list tonight. All right.
Let me just throw some names at you here. I know
throw some names. Go for it.
We're under. Well, we're only at 2 hours. So
only.
These are some of the great quarterbacks and not so great quarterbacks that have graced the field for the Seahawks. All right, so we know about Jim Zorn and Dave Craig, and of course Matt Hasselbeck. Here's some other names: Jeff Kemp,
sure.
Kelly Stauffer. Remember him? Rick Myrer.
Yeah.
John Freeze.
Freeze.
Remember him? Freeze.
He's the drummer for Diva.
Yeah. Warren Moon for a couple of years.
Warren Moon did play in the Seahawks for a couple of years. Yeah.
John Kitna. Dilfer.
Trent Dilfer went there. Yeah.
Seneca Wallace.
My favorite name to scream.
Yes, I know. I've got that on disc. Seneca Wallace. And before Russell Wilson came along, only for 1 year, but a guy named Tavares Jackson.
Yep.
Yeah, so a list of, mediocre to kind of decent quarterbacks.
Non-household names.
No, not really.
I mean, honestly, on that entire list, the only household names on there besides Russell Wilson are Matt Hasselbeck, and that's primarily probably because of his wife. And
Warren Moon, of course.
And Warren Moon, yeah.
But, I mean, he was not – when you think of Warren Moon, you don't think Seahawks.
No, you think Oilers, obviously.
Yeah.
So, but there you go.
So, yeah, not a great crop.
Dave Craig was pretty well known, too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's true. So, all right.
Not a great crop of quarterbacks overall.
Not an incredible crop of quarterbacks. This is why they're probably
Seahawks
really holding on to Russell Wilson and don't want to let him go.
Well, I mean, if you look at that list, obviously it's very defensive heavy, and a couple really great running backs. One who didn't make our list, but it was Sean Alexander was great. So was Marshawn Lynch, but Kurt Warner also had a number of Kurt with a C.
Kurt with a C.
Yep.
Yeah,
Kurt
Warner
had a number of great years. Defensive, they might be the team with the best defensive secondary of all time.
Yeah,
I mean, year after year, the Kenny Easley and Sherman, and the list goes on. Chancellor, the list goes on.
Yeah,
and on.
Chancellor was a bubble guy.
Of really great defensive backs, and we'll talk. And Cortez Kennedy, obviously defensive lineman. There's a couple other defensive linemen that will probably bubble on that list, and I think
Brian Bosworth was nobody's bubble though.
Well, and I think if you look at a lot of lists, it's very rare that you see an offensive lineman at number one on a lot of people's lists. And on a lot of people's lists, Russell Wilson or Steve Largent were not number one, and I think that for Walter Jones to be number one on a lot of people's list, that tells you just how.
A lot of people's list, Walter Jones was number one. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep.
And he's probably top 5 offensive lineman of all time. You could argue Steve Largent maybe is top 5, 10 receiver of all time, maybe top 5. So they've had some pretty incredible talent over the years. It's just they haven't been around as long as a lot of other teams.
We had a list a couple weeks ago that was kind of similar to that, where a lot of other people's list was an offensive lineman.
Right.
They had number one. We had him at number 2.
Right.
And listen, guys like Jones and Kennedy, and I would say a slightly lesser extent, but not particularly lesser, Largent as well. Like, as you just mentioned, they're all kind of all-time great players.
Right.
As opposed to, they were great Seahawks, or they had
Oh, they're all-time great players who played the majority of their career with the Seahawks.
Right,
There's a couple of people who didn't play a long time with the Seahawks, but had a stint with them.
Right, like Sean Alexander was a great Seahawk, but I wouldn't call him one of the all-time great running backs or anything like that. So, this was an interesting list.
It was an interesting list.
It's an interesting list.
And,
I could have even. I almost picked 11 guys, and I only ever picked 10. I almost went with 11 because there were a couple guys like Warner and
Kurt Warner was
another guy.
Kurt Warner and Cam Chancellor were my 2 bubble guys.
Oh, and Chancellor, right? That I was considering putting as number 11, but yeah, the Seahawks haven't been around for even 50 years yet.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, 74.
76.
76.
So they're in their 46th season.
Yeah, 76. Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, that should bring us to Old Balls.
Old Balls.
Harry, tell us who this week's Old Balls recipient is.
This week's Old Balls recipient is another one who's on that bubble. A guy who I think is even less of a household name. He gets forgotten in the long line of great Seahawk defensive players, and that's Jacob Green. He was a defensive end for the Seahawks. Was an All-American coming out of Texas A&M. At the time of his retirement, he was number 3 on the all-time sacks leaderboard, behind only Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
He had, I think, 7 seasons where he had 12 or more sacks and finished his career officially with 97.5 sacks. Played 2 years where the sack was not an official statistic. So 100, I think when they tallied it all up, he had 116 sacks in his career. Now, if you look at other people that have had that many sacks over the course of their career, I think they're all relatively household names. This guy, I mean, when I saw his name come up, I remembered him, but he was not on my mind when we were thinking about the Seattle Seahawks. Mm-hmm. And he's a 2-time Pro Bowler. I think he probably should have made the Pro Bowl a little bit more. Played in the wake of a lot of really good defensive linemen, like I believe he played at the same time as Bruce Smith and Reggie White and sort of towards the end of their careers. Played for the Seahawks from 1980 to 1991. Played 1 year with the San Francisco 49ers. Is it 1990 recipient of the Steve Largent Award? There you go. And
he won the second Steve Largent Award ever.
That's right.
He was the first person not named Steve Largent to win the Steve Largent Award.
And he had 6 interceptions and 2 touchdowns, which is pretty incredible. Mm-hmm. I just think he's one of those guys who goes a little incredibly underrated, which is what we try to maybe do on this segment of the show, is talk about people that so we talk about a lot of linemen because I think they inherently don't get a lot of discussion. But this guy was a hell of a player, and look, I know sacks is not the only thing that matters, but in his rookie year, he had 6.5. In his next year, he had 12. He only played in 9 games and had 3 sacks in 82. 83, 84, 85, and 86. 16, 13, 13.5, and 12. In 87, he had 9.5. 88, 9. Okay. And then bounced back in 1990 and had 12.5. I mean, it's very few people who have consistently for a 10-year career put up those kind of numbers. And wasn't a huge guy, 6'2", 255, kind of a linebacker size, but was a quick defensive end. And, he wasn't he was just really, really, really good at getting to the quarterback. And played in an era where, they passed a lot, but certainly not as much as teams pass today. And so I think you got to compliment him on just what he was able to achieve. And probably a guy who maybe won't get into the Canton, but he's in good company when you look at his statistics.
Agreed.
17 fumble recoveries and a couple of touchdowns that way too.
Yeah.
There you go.
He had 4 touchdowns in his career.
Yeah.
There you go. All right.
Oh, and by the way, amongst his interceptions, one of them, his long interception return was 73 yards. Which I probably resulted in a touchdown, but again, he wasn't a massive hulking player, but he was a defensive lineman. So
yeah, so he just fell down at the 73-yard mark.
Kind of like Daniel Jones did last year.
Pretty big dude. I mean, I think they listed him at 255. He looked bigger than that, but
he did look.
He also played in an era when defensive players still wore shoulder pads. So yeah, but a hell of a player. And, I think maybe playing in Seattle cost him a couple Pro Bowls but boy, one of the best pass rushers in the game, let alone for the Seahawks.
Yeah. Certainly cost him, national recognition and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Back then. Yeah.
Back then. Yeah, that's what I mean. Seahawks weren't really. There were a number of years they weren't getting a whole lot of coverage.
Sure.
We didn't have the, omnipotent media coverage that we do have now. So,
exactly. So, anyway, all right. That's this week's Old Balls.
Old balls.
All right. A couple things on Seattle really quick, just as long as we're talking about it. They came in the league, like you said, in 1976. As a member, the team was a member of the NFC West division, as they are now. But they moved to the AFC West after that,
Right.
and they were in the AFC until 2001. In 2002, they came back to the NFC West with realignment and everything else. But yeah, they were in the AFC for many, many years. A half, maybe just about half their time. A little bit less now. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. They came in same year as the Tampa Bay Bucks came in, if memory serves.
Yep, another good defensive team that back then with the Selman boys.
Both teams have been to, Seattle's been to 3 Super Bowls now. They only won 1. And Tampa has been to 2 and won both of them. So there you go. Anyway, this is about Seattle. And there you go. That is tonight's top 10 list. So, do we want to talk basketball or do we want to call it an early night?
You guys can talk basketball. I'm signing off.
I think we're good. We'll save our basketball talk. I have a laundry list of some items to discuss, but they'll all hold until next week.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be anything different that I would want to talk about this week. I don't think anything will be different by next week.
Right, exactly. Yeah, nothing's going to change on this list. No.
The same teams will have the same problems, and Steph Curry will still have the 3-point record. And
nobody's beating it by next week.
Steph Curry. And,
congratulations to Steph Curry. Absolutely.
Thanks for changing the game, and it's gotten worse ever since.
Exactly. It's gotten worse ever since.
Well, it has. It has.
Well, yeah, it has.
Not because of Steph Curry, but because of the prevalence of just the chuck 'em up mentality.
Exactly. So anyway, all right. Well, if that's the case, we'll wrap up the show for today on this note. We want to thank everybody for watching, and for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of our shows are on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at or about 7:30 Eastern Time. Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Somewhere in that 4-hour window.
Somewhere between 6:30 and 9:15.
9:15, right? Between 7:30 and 8, but it'll tie down anyway. But for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. Plus, the show is now available on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you'll never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Watch all of the football. We got some Saturday games this week, so you got that going for you.
Turn it off and get some sunshine.
And get some sunshine. Sit outside and soak in some rays in the 30-degree weather. So, anyway, enjoy your weekend. Watch all sports. We'll talk to you next week, folks. Take care. Cheers.
Hey, thanks to Jay for chiming in.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Jay, for
join us
commenting.
anytime.
Absolutely. Please do. All right. Enjoy, folks. Take care.